The massive Mazarian spacecraft materializes in Earth's orbit without warning. Hundreds of smaller vessels streak towards major cities worldwide, their alien technology creating impenetrable force fields around schools and playgrounds. Thousands of human children find themselves trapped, their screams of terror muffled by the shimmering barriers. Noah Clark, a 35-year-old former Navy SEAL turned elementary school teacher, stands frozen outside Seattle's Westbrook Elementary. His military instincts kick in as he watches his students become prisoners within the translucent dome. Parents and authorities gather, their panic palpable as the alien ships begin beaming children up in groups. Noah's mind races, years of training flooding back. He sprints to his truck, grabbing a crowbar and a hunting rifle. Returning to the force field, he strikes it repeatedly, each blow reverberating uselessly. He fires several rounds, but the bullets ricochet dangerously. Frustration mounts as he realizes conventional weapons are useless against this advanced technology. A Mazarian scout ship descends nearby, its sleek form unlike anything humans have engineered. Noah's eyes narrow, a plan forming. He conceals himself behind a dumpster, waiting as two Mazarian soldiers exit the craft. Their armor gleams, weapons held at the ready. Noah strikes with precision honed from years of covert operations. He incapacitates the first alien with a swift blow to the head, then grapples with the second. The struggle is brief but intense. Within moments, both Mazarians lie unconscious. Stripping the aliens of their armor and weapons, Noah dons the unfamiliar gear. The suit adjusts to his form, its inner workings a mystery. He hefts the alien weapon, its weight foreign in his hands. With a deep breath, he boards the scout ship, blending in with a group of captured children just as the doors seal shut. The vessel ascends rapidly, Earth shrinking below. Noah's heart races as they approach the colossal Mazarian mothership. Inside, chaos reigns. Thousands of human children from across the globe are herded through processing stations, their cries echoing off metal walls. Noah overhears Mazarian officers discussing their ultimatum: Earth's resources in exchange for the children's safe return. The realization hits him hard. This is no mere abduction, but a full-scale invasion. As he cautiously navigates the labyrinthine ship, Noah encounters Dana, a Mazarian scientist. Her demeanor differs from the others, a hint of doubt in her alien features. Noah decides to shadow her, recognizing a potential source of crucial intelligence. Meanwhile, on Earth, governments and military forces scramble to respond. They remain unaware that Noah Clark, a lone human, has already infiltrated the heart of the Mazarian operation. As he moves deeper into enemy territory, Noah knows the fate of Earth's children, and perhaps humanity itself, rests on his shoulders. Noah's heart pounded as he moved deeper into the Mazarian mothership, his stolen armor concealing his human identity. He kept a watchful eye on Dana, the Mazarian scientist whose demeanor had caught his attention earlier. As he shadowed her through winding corridors, Noah's training kicked in, memorizing every turn and junction. Suddenly, Dana entered a vast chamber that made Noah's blood run cold. Rows upon rows of stasis pods stretched as far as the eye could see, each containing a motionless human child. The sight hit Noah like a physical blow, reminding him of the faces of his own students back at Westbrook Elementary. He watched as Dana approached a nearby console, her long fingers dancing across the alien interface. Noah held his breath, committing every movement to memory. As soon as she finished and left the area, he seized his chance. Approaching the console, Noah's fingers hovered over the unfamiliar controls. He closed his eyes, recalling Dana's precise sequence. The suit's built-in interface hummed to life, projecting alien symbols before his eyes. To his surprise, some began to shift into recognizable patterns. "Come on," Noah muttered, his fingers flying across the console. Partial translations flickered across his vision, fragments of the Mazarians' plans coming into focus. What he saw made his stomach churn. The stasis pods weren't just for containment. They were preparing the children for experiments, brutal, invasive procedures designed to isolate and weaponize a unique genetic trait found only in human children. The Miserians saw Earth's youngest as nothing more than raw material for their galactic arsenal. Noah's heart made as he absorbed this information. He had to find a way to stop this, to save these children and alert Earth to the true nature of the threat they faced. But how? As he pondered his next move, the sound of approaching footsteps sent Noah ducking behind a row of stasis pods. A group of Miserian soldiers marched past, their conversation drifting to Noah's ears. "The next batch of scout ships will arrive in 6 hours," one said. "We'll need to lower the shields to let them dock." "Understood," another replied. "I'll inform the bridge to initiate the docking sequence at the designated time." Noah's mind raced. A weakness in the mothership's defenses, however brief, could be the key to mounting a rescue operation. But first, he needed to contact Earth. Moving cautiously through the ship, Noah searched for a way to access the Miserians' long-range communication systems. He passed countless alien crew members, each focused on their tasks, none suspecting the human in their midst. A stroke of luck led Noah to a communication hub. Banks of equipment lined the walls, their purpose clear even through the veil of alien design. Noah approached a terminal, his stolen armor interfacing with the system. As he sifted through the data streams, a familiar voice caught his attention. Appointed Major General Marcus Winters to lead Earth's defense against the alien threat. Noah's eyes widened. He knew Winters, a brilliant tactician he'd served under during his SEAL days. If anyone could coordinate an effective counterattack, it was Winters. But he needed information, the kind only Noah could provide. Before Noah could formulate a plan to contact Earth, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights pulsed along the corridors, and Miserian voices shouted orders in their harsh, clicking language. "Intruder alert in Section 7. All personnel report to their stations." Noah cursed under his breath. His presence had been detected. He needed to move, and fast. Ducking into a maintenance shaft, Noah descended deeper into the bowels of the ship. The passage was cramped, forcing him to crouch as he moved. After what felt like an eternity, he emerged into a cavernous space that thrummed with raw power. The mothership's engine room stretched before him, a marvel of alien engineering. Massive reactors pulsed with energy, connected by a web of conduits and control systems. Noah's mind raced with possibilities. If he could disable these engines, he might buy Earth the time it desperately needed. But the room was far from empty. Miserian soldiers patrolled the walkways, their weapons at the ready. Noah knew he couldn't take them all on alone. He needed help. As if in answer to his thoughts, a door slid open on the far side of the chamber. A group of aliens entered. But these were not Miserians. Smaller, with mottled green skin and large, luminous eyes, they moved with the weary gait of a subjugated people. Noah's stolen armor provided a translation, Zarthal. The name meant nothing to him, but their status as workers, or more likely, slaves, was clear. He watched as they set about their tasks, monitored closely by Miserian overseers. An idea began to form in Noah's mind. If he could make contact with these Zarthal, perhaps he could find allies in his fight against the Miserians. But he would need to approach carefully, without arousing suspicion. Slouching his shoulders and adopting the posture he'd observed in other Miserian soldiers, Noah made his way towards the Zarthal work crew. He cleared his throat, the armor's vocoder translating his words into the harsh Miserian tongue. "You there," he barked, gesturing to a nearby Zarthal. "I require assistance with a maintenance issue." The alien's large eyes widened in fear, but it nodded and followed Noah to a secluded corner of the engine room. Once they were out of earshot of the other Miserians, Noah dropped his voice to a whisper. "Listen carefully," he said, struggling to form the alien words. I am not Miserian. I am here to help. The Zarthal's eyes, if possible, grew even wider. It glanced nervously around before leaning in close. You, enemy of Miserians? It asked, its voice a soft warble. Noah nodded. Yes, I need to know more about them. About you. Can you help me? The Zarthal hesitated, fear and hope warring in its expression. Finally, it nodded. We are not alone, it said. Many races suffer under Miserian rule. Many would see them fall. Noah's pulse quickened. He had found potential allies, but the challenges ahead were daunting. He needed to rescue the human children, contact Earth, and now, potentially spark a rebellion among the Miserians' enslaved workforce. Time was running out. Every moment brought the captive children closer to the Miserians' cruel experiments. Noah knew he had to act soon, but the complexities of his mission had grown exponentially. As he prepared to question the Zarthal further, a commotion near the engine room's main entrance caught his attention. More Miserian soldiers were pouring in, their weapons raised. The search for the intruder was intensifying. Noah tensed, ready to run or fight. He locked eyes with the Zarthal beside him, seeing in its alien features a reflection of his own tenacity. Whatever came next, he knew this unlikely alliance could be the key to saving not just Earth's children, but countless oppressed beings across the galaxy. Noah took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. We need to move, he whispered to the Zarthal. Can you gather others who might help us? The alien nodded, its luminous eyes darting nervously around the engine room. I will speak with those I trust. Meet us at the auxiliary power junction in 10 cycles. As the Zarthal slipped away, Noah carefully made his way to the agreed-upon meeting point, avoiding the increasing number of Miserian patrols. The ship's corridors buzzed with activity, the alarm still blaring in the background. At the auxiliary power junction, Noah found a small group of Zarthal waiting for him. Their faces showed a mix of fear and purpose. Noah quickly explained the situation and his plan to rescue the human children. The Miserians have enslaved many races, one of the Zarthal said, its voice a low warble. We will help you fight them. With his newfound allies, Noah formulated a plan. The Zarthal's knowledge of the ship's systems would be crucial. They guided Noah to a less guarded communication terminal, where he could attempt to contact Earth. Noah's fingers flew across the alien interface, his stolen armor translating the symbols. After several tense minutes, a familiar voice crackled through the comm system. This is Major General Marcus Winters. Identify yourself. Noah's heart leaped. General, this is Noah Clark, former Navy SEAL. I'm aboard the Miserian mothership. There was a moment of stunned silence before Winters responded. Clark, what's your situation? Noah quickly briefed Winters on the Miserians' true intentions for the abducted children and the potential weaknesses in the alien defenses. He could almost hear the gears turning in Winters' mind as the general absorbed this crucial intelligence. We'll begin coordinating a global counteroffensive immediately, Winters said. Can you disrupt their operations from within? Already on it, sir, Noah replied, glancing at his Zarthal allies. As Noah ended the transmission, the Zarthal put their part of the plan into action. They manipulated the ship systems, creating a cascade of false alarms in a distant section of the vessel. The effect was immediate. Miserian security forces streamed towards the fabricated crisis, leaving other areas of the ship vulnerable. Taking advantage of the chaos, Noah led a small team of Zarthal towards the engine room. They moved swiftly through the now less guarded corridors, the sound of their footsteps masked by the continued blaring of alarms. Inside the engine room, Noah and the Zarthal worked with practiced efficiency. They targeted key components of the propulsion system, carefully sabotaging them to ensure the ship would lose its ability to maintain orbit or maneuver effectively. As they finished their work, a violent shudder ran through the ship. Alarms changed pitch, becoming more urgent. Noah and his team quickly retreated to a predetermined hiding spot, narrowly avoiding a group of panicked Mazarian engineers rushing to assess the damage. The effects of their sabotage were immediate and dramatic. The mothership began to list noticeably, its stabilizers failing. Through the viewport, Noah could see other ships in the Mazarian fleet moving erratically, trying to compensate for the mothership's sudden instability. Seizing the moment of confusion, Noah made his way towards the stasis pod chamber. The corridors were in chaos, with Mazarian crew members rushing in all directions. As he rounded a corner, he came face to face with Dana, the Mazarian scientist he had encountered earlier. For a moment, they stared at each other, frozen. Then, making a split-second decision, Noah deactivated his helmet's camouflage, revealing his human face. Dana's eyes widened in shock. You're not Mazarian," she said, her voice a mix of fear and fascination. "No," Noah replied, tensing for a possible confrontation. "I'm here to save the children you've abducted." To his surprise, Dana's posture relaxed slightly. I've had doubts about this mission," she admitted. "The experiments they plan to conduct. It's not right." Noah saw an opportunity. "Then help me," he urged. "Help me save them." After a moment of internal struggle, Dana nodded. She quickly input a series of codes into a nearby terminal. "These will give you access to the stasis pod chamber," she explained. "And this data chip contains information on safely reviving the children." Grateful for this unexpected turn of events, Noah took the offered chip. "Thank you," he said sincerely. With Dana's access codes, Noah entered the stasis pod chamber. Row upon row of pods stretched before him, each containing a sleeping child. The sight steeled his willpower. He began the revival process, carefully following the instructions Dana had provided. As the first children began to stir, Noah realized the magnitude of the task ahead. He needed to not only awaken hundreds of disoriented kids, but also guide them safely through a failing alien ship. Outside, the space around Earth had become a battlefield. Human fighter pilots, coordinated by Major General Winters, engaged the Mazarian fleet in a fierce dogfight. The mothership's compromised defenses made it an easier target, buying Noah precious time for his rescue operation. Inside the stasis pod chamber, Noah organized the older children to help with the younger ones. "I know you're scared," he told a group of wide-eyed teenagers, "but I need your help. We're going to get everyone out of here." As more children awakened, the chamber filled with a cacophony of confused voices and frightened cries. Noah moved among them, offering reassurances and instructions. He knew that their window of opportunity was rapidly closing. Suddenly, Noah's stolen communication device crackled to life. A Zarthal voice came through, urgent and excited. "We've taken control of a transport ship in the docking bay," the alien reported. "We can help evacuate the children, but we must act quickly." Noah's mind raced. Getting hundreds of children through the chaotic ship to the docking bay would be incredibly risky. But with the mothership becoming more unstable by the minute, he knew it might be their only chance. "All right, everyone listen up," Noah called out, his voice cutting through the noise in the chamber. "We're going on a little trip. I need you all to stay close and follow my instructions exactly. Can you do that for me?" A chorus of nervous but determined yes responses echoed through the room. Noah took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenge ahead. As he prepared to lead this young army through the crumbling Mazarian mothership, he knew that the next few hours would determine not just their fate, but potentially the outcome of the entire invasion. With a nod to the oldest children, who had taken charge of guiding the younger ones, Noah opened the chamber doors. The corridors beyond were filled with flashing lights and the sound of distant explosions. Holding his alien weapon at the ready, Noah stepped out into the chaos, the first wave of Earth's youngest and most vulnerable following close behind. Behind him, the corridor stretched before them, a gauntlet of flashing lights and ominous creaks as the ship's systems faltered. Noah's mind raced, processing the enormity of the task before him. Hundreds of children, disoriented and frightened, now looked to him for guidance and protection. He knew he had to act fast, to organize this young army into something manageable. "Listen up," Noah called out, his voice carrying over the din of alarms and distant explosions. "I need all the older kids to pair up with younger ones. We're going to move in teams." He quickly divided the group, assigning responsibilities to the teenagers. "You're in charge of keeping your team together," he instructed. "If anyone falls behind, you let me know immediately." As they began to move, Noah felt the floor beneath his feet shift. The artificial gravity was failing, causing objects and people to float momentarily before slamming back down. Noah adapted quickly, calling out new instructions. "Everyone, use the walls. Push off gently to move forward. Don't panic if you start floating. Just reach for the nearest solid surface." The children, surprisingly resilient, began to move with more confidence. Noah watched as they pushed off walls and ceilings, their movements becoming a strange dance through the unstable corridors. As they rounded a corner, Noah's enhanced hearing picked up the sound of approaching footsteps. He signaled for the group to halt, pressing himself against the wall. A squad of Mazarian soldiers appeared, their weapons raised. Noah didn't hesitate. He launched himself forward, using the fluctuating gravity to his advantage. He collided with the lead Mazarian, sending them both tumbling through the air. Noah grappled with the alien, using its own momentum to slam it into the ceiling. The other Mazarians opened fire, but Noah was already moving. He grabbed a piece of floating debris, using it as a makeshift shield. Spinning in the low gravity, he hurled the debris at one soldier, while simultaneously kicking off the wall towards another. The children watched in awe as Noah weaved through the air, his movements a blur of controlled violence. He disarmed one Mazarian, using its weapon to incapacitate the others. In a matter of seconds, the entire squad lay unconscious or groaning on the floor. Noah turned back to the wide-eyed children. "Let's keep moving," he said calmly, as if he hadn't just single-handedly defeated a group of armed aliens. As they neared the docking bay, Noah's stolen communicator crackled to life. "Clark, this is Major General Winters. Do you copy?" "I hear you, sir," Noah responded, relief evident in his voice. "We've broken through their outer defenses," Winters reported. "Captain Sarah Wilson is leading a team to assist with evacuation. ETA 5 minutes. Noah's spirits lifted at the news. Sarah was one of the best tacticians he knew. Her support would be invaluable. The group reached the docking bay to find it in chaos. Zarthal rebels exchanged fire with Mazarian security forces, their commandeered transport ship caught in the crossfire. Noah assessed the situation quickly, his mind formulating a plan. He spotted a control panel nearby and made his way to it, dodging energy blasts. His fingers flew across the alien interface, accessing the bay's environmental systems. With a few quick commands, he initiated a partial depressurization of the area where the Mazarian forces were concentrated. The effect was immediate. Several Mazarian soldiers were suddenly pulled towards the newly created vacuum, their cries of surprise cut short as they were sucked into space. The Zarthal, prepared for the change, used the moment of confusion to press their advantage. Noah began guiding the children towards the transport ship, shouting encouragement and directions over the sounds of battle. As they neared the vessel, a familiar face appeared, Dana, the Mazarian scientist who had helped him earlier. "Noah," she called out, her eyes wide with urgency. "The High Command has initiated the ship's self-destruct sequence. We have less than 15 minutes. Noah's blood ran cold. He redoubled his efforts, coordinating with the Zarthal pilots to prepare for immediate takeoff. As the children boarded the transport, Noah worked with Dana to override the docking bay's force field controls, creating a clear path for their escape. Just as the last group of children approached the transport's entrance ramp, a new threat emerged. A towering Mazarian, flanked by a unit of heavily armed guards, strode into the docking bay. Noah recognized him from intelligence briefings. Krosthor, the Mazarian fleet commander. Krosthor's eyes locked onto Noah, burning with rage and perseverance. Noah knew in that instant that the Mazarian commander would stop at nothing to recapture the children. Making a split-second decision, Noah shouted to the Zarthal pilots, "Take off now! Get the children out of here!" As the transport's engines roared to life, Noah turned to face Krosthor. He was acutely aware of the small group of children still behind him, too far from the departing ship to board. Krosthor raised a massive energy weapon, its barrel glowing with building power. Noah tensed, ready to dodge, to fight, to do whatever it took to buy time for the escaping transport and protect the remaining children. As the two adversaries faced off, the docking bay trembled with the force of distant explosions. The mothership was beginning to tear itself apart, the self-destruct sequence well underway. Noah knew that the next few moments would determine not just his fate, but potentially the outcome of the entire invasion. He crouched low, muscles coiled, ready to spring into action. Krosthor's finger tightened on the trigger of his weapon. The air between them seemed to crackle with tension. Two warriors poised on the brink of a battle that would determine the fate of hundreds of innocent lives. In that moment of deadly anticipation, Noah heard a sound that made his heart leap, the distinct whine of human-made engines. Captain Sarah Wilson and her team had arrived, adding a new factor to the already chaotic equation. As the docking bay doors burst open, admitting Wilson's strike team, Noah launched himself at Krosthor, determined to end this fight before it could truly begin. The fate of Earth's children, and perhaps humanity itself, hung in the balance as the two combatants clashed amidst the disintegrating Mazarian mothership. Noah's muscles tensed as he prepared for the imminent clash. Krosthor's energy weapon discharged, its beam cutting through the air where Noah had been a split second before. Noah rolled to the side, using the momentum to close the distance between them. He launched himself at the Mazarian commander, his fist connecting with the alien's jaw in a bone-jarring impact. The two warriors grappled, trading blows in a furious exchange. Noah's enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge most of Krosthor's powerful strikes, but those that connected sent shockwaves of pain through his body. The Mazarian commander was formidable, his strength nearly overwhelming. Around them, the docking bay erupted into chaos. Captain Sarah Wilson and her team engaged the Mazarian guards, their weapons fire creating a deadly light show. The remaining children huddled behind debris, their eyes wide with fear and awe as they watched the battle unfold. Noah feinted left, then dropped low, sweeping Krosthor's legs. The Mazarian commander stumbled but didn't fall. As he regained his balance, Noah's eyes darted to a nearby control panel. A plan formed in his mind. With a burst of speed, Noah disengaged from the fight and lunged for the panel. His fingers flew across the alien interface, inputting commands he'd learned during his time undercover. Krosthor roared in anger, charging towards him. Just as the Mazarian's massive hand was about to close around Noah's throat, the artificial gravity disappeared. Both combatants and everyone else in the docking bay suddenly found themselves floating. The Mazarian forces, unprepared for zero-gravity combat, flailed helplessly. Noah, however, had trained for this. He pushed off from the control panel, propelling himself towards a floating piece of debris. Using it as an anchor, he changed direction, heading straight for the disoriented Krosthor. Noah grabbed the Mazarian's energy weapon, wrenching it from his grasp. In one fluid motion, he spun the weapon around and fired. The blast caught Krosthor square in the chest, sending him tumbling unconscious through the air. With the immediate threat neutralized, Noah turned his attention to the children. "Everyone link arms," he shouted. "Form a chain." The kids complied, their fear giving way to determined focus. Noah spotted some cargo straps floating nearby and quickly secured the group together. "Captain Wilson," Noah called out, "we need to move." Sarah nodded, signaling her team to form a defensive perimeter. As they prepared to leave, Noah's communicator crackled to life. "Noah, it's Dana," came the Mizarian scientist's voice. "I've managed to delay the self-destruct sequence, but not for long. There's a secondary hangar with scout ships. It's your best chance for escape." Noah quickly relayed the information to Sarah. "We'll split up," she decided. "You take the kids to the scout ships. My team will create a diversion." As they finalized their plan, another tremor shook the ship. Noah's communicator beeped urgently, displaying a warning message. The mothership's core was overloading faster than anticipated. "Change your plans," Noah announced grimly. "We have minutes, not hours. We need to move now." With Sarah and her team providing cover, Noah led the tethered group of children out of the docking bay. They moved as quickly as possible through the corridors, using gentle pushes and pulls in the zero-gravity to navigate. They encountered pockets of panicked Mizarian crew members, but the combination of Noah's captured weapon and the general chaos allowed them to push through without major confrontations. As they neared the secondary hangar, the ship's structure groaned ominously. Sections of the ceiling began to collapse, forcing Noah to adjust their route on the fly. Finally, they reached the hangar. Noah's eyes scanned the array of scout ships, quickly identifying one large enough for their needs. He ushered the children inside, then began the pre-flight sequence, his hands moving with practiced efficiency over the alien controls. Just as the engines hummed to life, Sarah's voice came through the communicator. "Noah, we're cut off. The corridors behind us have collapsed. We'll have to find another way out." Noah's mind raced. The ship systems were reporting imminent structural failure. Waiting for Sarah's team could doom everyone on board. Before he could respond, movement at the hangar entrance caught his eye. A group of Zarthal rebels rushed in, led by a female who introduced herself as Zarel. "We intercepted your communications," she explained quickly. "We're here to help." Noah nodded, a new plan forming. "Can you pilot this ship?" he asked Zarel. "Of course," she replied confidently. "Good. Get the children to Earth. Contact Major General Winters when you approach. I'm going after Captain Wilson's team." As Zarel took the pilot's seat, Noah selected 2 Zarthal rebels to accompany him. He armed them with Mizarian weapons and communicators. "Keep them safe," Noah instructed Zarel, gesturing to the children. Then, with a final nod, he led his small rescue team back into the disintegrating mothership. They raced through the collapsing corridors, guided by the weak signal of Sarah's distress beacon. The ship shuddered violently around them, entire sections breaking apart and exposing the void space. Noah pushed forward, his enhanced senses on high alert for any sign of Sarah's team. As they navigated the treacherous path, he knew that every second counted. The final countdown to the mothership's destruction had begun, and their window for escape was rapidly closing. Time was running out. Noah's enhanced senses were on high alert as he led his small rescue team through the disintegrating mothership. The 2 Zarthal rebels followed close behind, their eyes wide as they witnessed the destruction unfolding around them. The ship groaned and shuddered, entire sections breaking apart and exposing corridors to the vacuum of space. Noah's mind raced, recalling the Mizarian ship layouts he had studied during his undercover mission. He quickly plotted the safest possible route to Sarah's last known location. "This way," Noah called out, gesturing to a side corridor as a massive piece of debris crashed down behind them. The Zarthal followed without hesitation, their trust in Noah growing with each obstacle overcome. As they rounded a corner, Noah's team encountered a group of Mazarian crew members trapped behind a fallen support beam. The aliens' eyes widened in fear and anger at the sight of Noah and his companions. Noah hesitated for a split second, weighing the risks. Then, with a quick nod to his Zarthal allies, he moved to help the trapped Mazarians. "We don't have much time," he said, straining to lift the beam. "Work with us if you want to live." The Mazarians exchanged bewildered glances before joining their efforts to Noah's. Together, they managed to shift the beam enough for the trapped aliens to squeeze free. One of the Mazarians, a younger crew member, looked at Noah with a mix of confusion and gratitude. "Why?" he asked simply. Noah met his gaze. "Because it's the right thing to do. Now go. Find a way off this ship." As the Mazarians hurried away, Noah noticed the Zarthal, watching him with newfound respect. He gave them a quick nod before pressing on. Finally, they reached a section where Sarah's distress beacon originated. A massive chasm separated them from the partially collapsed area where Sarah and her team were pinned down. "Noah," Sarah's voice called out from across the gap. "We're trapped. The floor is unstable, and we can't risk crossing." Noah's mind raced, taking in the scene before him. His eyes darted between the chasm, the debris scattered around, and the sparking control panels nearby. A plan began to form. "Sarah, hold tight. We're coming to you," Noah shouted back. He turned to the Zarthal. "I need your help. We're going to build a bridge." Working quickly, Noah and the Zarthal used their combined knowledge of Mazarian technology to override a nearby gravity control panel. They then gathered pieces of debris, using the localized gravity fields to suspend them across the chasm, creating a makeshift bridge. "It's not pretty, but it'll hold," Noah said, testing the first few steps. "Sarah, send your team across one at a time. Move fast but careful." Sarah's team began to cross, their faces tense with concentration. Just as the last soldier reached the midpoint, a sudden power surge ripped through the ship. The artificial gravity failed completely, sending everyone and everything floating. Noah reacted instantly, his zero-gravity combat training kicking in. "Everyone link up," he shouted, reaching out to grab the nearest person. "Use the debris as anchors to pull yourselves across." The next few moments were a chaos of floating bodies and debris. Noah guided both humans and Zarthal through the now three-dimensional obstacle course, using gentle pushes and pulls to navigate. Sarah took charge of coordinating her team's movements, her voice calm and authoritative despite the bizarre circumstances. As the combined group finally regrouped on Noah's side of the chasm, the ship lurched violently. "We need to move," Noah said urgently. "The hangar's our only way out now." They fought their way back through the crumbling corridors, facing off against pockets of desperate Mazarian soldiers and navigating increasingly treacherous obstacles. Noah's leadership shone as he quickly formulated and executed plans to overcome each new challenge. "There," Sarah pointed as they rounded a final corner. The secondary hangar lay before them, a Zarthal scout ship prepped and waiting. But their relief was short-lived. The hangar's main doors were sealed shut, jammed by the ship's ongoing destruction. "Zarel," Noah called out to the Zarthal leader, waiting by the scout ship. "Get everyone on board. Sarah and I will handle the doors." As the others boarded, Noah and Sarah raced to the door controls. The panel was a mess of sparking wires and cracked displays. Noah's fingers flew over the alien interface, trying to initiate the emergency override. "It's not responding," he growled in frustration. Sarah examined the mechanical components of the door. "We can force it," she said, pointing to a manual release. "But it'll take both of us." Noah nodded, and together they threw their weight against the release lever. Slowly, painfully, the massive doors began to slide open. A violent tremor shook the hangar. The mothership was in its final throes. Now or never, Noah shouted. He and Sarah sprinted for the waiting scout ship, leaping aboard just as it lifted off. The small vessel shot out of the hangar, narrowly avoiding debris as the mothership began to break apart behind them. Noah and Sarah crowded into the cockpit with Zar-El, watching in awe as the massive alien vessel exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The shockwave hit them a moment later, rocking their ship violently. Zar-El's expert piloting kept them from being torn apart, but alarms blared throughout the cabin. As the immediate danger passed, Noah turned his attention to their next challenge. He activated the communication system, hailing Earth's Defense Command. "This is Noah Clark to Major General Winters. Do you copy?" After a moment of static, Winters' voice came through. "Clark, thank God. What's your status?" Noah quickly updated the general on their situation. The destruction of the mothership, the rescued children in the other scout ship, and their newfound Zarthal allies. Winters' tone grew grim. "The mothership's destruction has thrown the Mazarians into disarray, but we've still got several of their warships in orbit. Getting you down safely won't be easy." "Understood, sir," Noah replied. "What's the plan?" As Winters outlined a strategy to create a safe corridor for their descent, Noah and Sarah worked with Zar-El to maximize the scout ship's defenses and weapons. They knew the final push to Earth might require one last battle. "All right, everyone." Noah addressed the combined human and Zarthal crew. "We're going home, but it's not over yet. Stay sharp and be ready for anything." The scout ship carrying the rescued children made contact with Earth's defense fleet, which moved to intercept and protect them. Noah's vessel took the lead, ready to face whatever challenges lay between them and the safety of Earth. As they began their descent, the ship's sensors picked up movement. Multiple Mazarian warships were breaking orbit, moving to intercept them. Noah's hands tightened on the weapon controls. "Here we go," he murmured, his eyes fixed on the approaching threats. "Let's bring it home." "Home," Noah said, his eyes fixed on the approaching threats. "Let's bring it to them." The scout ship's engines roared as Noah pushed them to their limits, leading the formation towards Earth. Behind them, the vessel carrying the rescued children fell into tight formation, protected by the combined might of Noah's team and their newfound Zarthal allies. As they closed the distance to their home planet, the situation became clear. The remaining Mazarian warships hung in orbit like wounded predators, their movements erratic without the guidance of their destroyed mothership. Yet even in disarray, they posed a formidable threat. Noah's hands danced over the alien controls, coordinating with Major General Winters through the comm system. "Sir, we're approaching the orbital defense line. What's our status?" Winters' voice crackled through, tense but determined. "We've got a plan in motion, Clark. Earth's defense fleet is moving to create a corridor for your descent. It won't be easy, but it's our best shot." As if on cue, a swarm of ships appeared on their sensors. Noah watched in awe as a mix of retrofitted human spacecraft and captured Mazarian vessels moved into position, forming a protective barrier around the incoming scout ships. Sarah leaned forward, her eyes wide. "My God! They've been busy while we were gone." The space around them erupted into chaos as Earth's defenders engaged the Mazarian warships. Beams of energy crisscrossed the void, and explosions bloomed like deadly flowers in the darkness of space. Noah kept their ship steady, weaving through the battle with precision. He could feel the tension radiating from the Zarthal pilot beside him, unused to the ferocity of human combat. "Steady," Noah reassured him. "Just follow my lead." As they neared Earth's atmosphere, alarms blared through the cockpit. Noah's blood ran cold as he saw the readings on the scanner. "Massive energy spike detected," he announced, his voice tight. "One of the Mazarian capital ships is charging its main weapon." Sarah's face paled. That thing could take out half our defense fleet with one shot. Noah's mind raced. weighing their options in a fraction of a second. He knew what he had to do. "Captain Wilson, take the helm," he ordered, already moving towards the weapon station. "I'm going to deal with that warship." Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. "Noah, that's suicide. Our weapons are no match for." "Trust me," Noah cut her off, his hands flying over the controls. "I picked up a few things during my time on the mothership." With a sharp vector change that pressed them all into their seats, Noah broke formation, aiming straight for the charging Mazarian vessel. He could hear Winters shouting in his ear, demanding an explanation, but there was no time. Noah's enhanced senses took in every detail of the massive warship as they approached. His time under cover hadn't been wasted. He knew exactly where to hit. "There," he muttered, targeting a specific point on the ship's hull. "The energy distribution node. Overload that, and the whole weapon system goes down." He fired, their small scout ship's weapons lashing out with surprising precision. The Mazarian warship's shields flared, but the carefully aimed shots punched through, striking the vulnerable node. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a chain reaction, energy began to cascade through the Mazarian ship systems. Explosions rippled along its hull as the stored power meant for their main weapons suddenly had nowhere to go. "All ships back off," Noah shouted into the comm. "She's going to blow." Their scout ship banked hard, narrowly avoiding debris as the massive Mazarian vessel began to tear itself apart. The explosion was spectacular, temporarily illuminating Earth's night side like a second sun. As the light faded, Noah saw that the destroyed warship's remains had created a temporary shield, blocking the other Mazarian vessels from pursuing them. Earth's defense fleet seized the opportunity, pushing forward to widen the corridor. "Nice shot, Clark." Winter's voice came through, a note of grudging admiration in his tone. "Now get your asses down here before they regroup." Noah nodded to the Zarthal pilot, who began the descent towards Earth's atmosphere. The scout ship shuddered as it hit the outer layers of the planet's protective blanket, its heat shield straining against the friction of re-entry. "I hope these things were built for this," Sarah muttered, gripping her seat tightly. Noah guided the Zarthal pilot to the turbulent descent, calling out course corrections as they plunged through layers of superheated plasma. Finally, they broke through the cloud cover, and Noah got his first glimpse of Earth since the invasion began. The sight stole his breath away. Smoke rose from the ruins of several major cities, and vast swathes of the landscape bore the scars of Mazarian attacks. But amidst the destruction, he could see signs of human resilience. Military bases bustling with activity, refugee camps organized with military precision, and the glint of sunlight off of improvised defense systems. "There," Sarah pointed, indicating a stretch of the Rocky Mountains. The secure landing zone. As they approached, Noah could see a flurry of activity on the ground. Medical teams and security personnel scrambled to prepare for their arrival. Suddenly, the entire facility seemed to shimmer and vanish, replaced by a perfect imitation of the surrounding landscape. "Advanced camouflage," Noah explained to the bewildered Zarthal, "in case any Mazarians followed us down." Their scout ship touched down first, followed closely by the vessel carrying the rescued children. As the hatch hissed open, Noah was hit by a wave of familiar smells: pine trees, jet fuel, and the indescribable scent of Earth itself. He stepped out, blinking in the bright sunlight, and found himself face to face with Major General Winters. The older man's face was a mix of relief and concern as he took in the sight of the rescued children and the Zarthal allies emerging from the ships. "Welcome back, Clark," Winters said gruffly, extending his hand. "Looks like you brought us some guests." Before Noah could respond, alarms began blaring across the facility. A young technician ran up, her face pale with fear. "Sir," she gasped, addressing Winters. Long-range sensors have detected a new wave of Mazarian ships entering the solar system. It's a full invasion fleet." Noah felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at Winters, then back at the ragtag group of humans and aliens emerging from the scout ships. Despite their recent victory, he knew the real battle was just beginning. "General," Noah said, his mind already racing with possibilities. "We need to talk. I think I have an idea that might just save us all." As the facility erupted into frantic activity around them, Noah began to outline his plan. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and he knew that the next few hours would determine not just the outcome of this invasion, but humanity's entire future among the stars. Stars. Noah took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. "General," he said, his voice firm with commitment, "we need to gather everyone. I have crucial information that could turn the tide of this war." Winters nodded sharply, immediately grasping the urgency of the situation. Within minutes, they were seated in a secure briefing room deep within the mountain facility. The air was thick with tension as Noah stood before a hastily assembled war council, including top military brass and leading scientists. "During my time aboard the Mazarian mothership, I gained invaluable insights into their weaknesses, tactics, and technology," Noah began, his words crisp and clear. He launched into a comprehensive briefing, detailing everything from the alien ship layouts to their combat strategies. As Noah spoke, he noticed a man in a lab coat leaning forward, his eyes alight with interest. Noah paused, recognizing an opportunity. "Dr. Ethan Foster," Noah said, gesturing to the scientist. "You've been studying Mazarian biology, haven't you?" Foster nodded, surprised at being singled out. "Yes, but with limited samples from earlier skirmishes. Your information could be the key we've been missing." Noah and Foster quickly fell into an intense discussion, their words flying back and forth as they compared notes. Suddenly, Foster's eyes widened. "That's it," he exclaimed. "The neural structure you described. It's highly sensitive to specific electromagnetic frequencies. We could potentially incapacitate them without harming humans or our Zarthal allies." The room erupted into a flurry of activity. Major General Winters immediately ordered the development of weapons based on this discovery, assigning a team led by Dr. James Wilson, a renowned physicist, to create prototype EM emitters. As the scientists hurried off to begin their work, Noah turned to address the military leadership once more. "There's more," he said, gesturing to Zar-El, who stood quietly at the back of the room. "Our Zarthal allies have crucial information on Mazarian fleet formations and command structures." Zar-El stepped forward, her alien features drawing curious looks from the assembled humans. She spoke in a clear, melodious voice, describing Mazarian tactics with precision. As she talked, Noah could see the gears turning in the minds of Earth's military strategists. "This changes everything," one general murmured, already scribbling notes on battle plans. Noah wasn't finished. "We need to create a specialized strike team," he proposed, his voice carrying across the room. "A unit that combines the best of human special forces with Zarthal warriors. We'll need their unique skills for infiltration missions against Mazarian command ships." Winters considered for a moment, then nodded. "Make it happen, Clark. You'll oversee the training yourself." Over the next few hours, Noah threw himself into the task of assembling and training the joint human Zarthal unit. He drew on his Navy SEAL experience, combining it with the combat techniques he'd observed among the Mazarians. The result was a team that moved with a fluid grace, human adaptability meshing seamlessly with Zarthal knowledge of alien technology. As Noah watched the team run through a complex simulation, a young technician burst into the training area, her face flushed with excitement. "Sir," she said, addressing Noah, "we received a transmission. It's from a Mazarian." Noah's pulse quickened. "Put it through," he ordered, following the technician to a nearby communication station. The face that appeared on the screen was familiar. Dana, the Mazarian scientist who had aided Noah's escape. Her alien features were taut with urgency. "Noah Clark," she said, her voice distorted by the vast distance between them. "I bring news. A faction of Miserians opposed to the invasion has formed. We seek to end this conflict and establish peaceful relations with humans." Noah listened intently as Dana outlined the situation. While part of him wanted to embrace this potential alliance immediately, years of training kept him cautious. "We'll need to verify your claims," he said carefully. "But if what you're saying is true, this could change everything." As Noah relayed this development to Winters and the War Council, long-range sensors lit up with alarming news. The Miserian reinforcement fleet had been detected, and its size sent shockwaves through Earth's leadership. Noah stared at the holographic display, his mind racing. Despite all their preparations, humanity remained vastly outgunned. They needed a game-changer. An idea began to form in Noah's mind, a high-risk, high-reward strategy that could potentially turn the tide of the entire war. He took a deep breath and addressed the room. "We need to strike first," he said, his voice cutting through the worried murmurs. "A small, elite team using the Zarthal scout ships. We'll target the Miserian fleet's flagship before it reaches Earth's orbit, aiming to disrupt their command structure and throw the invasion force into disarray." The room fell silent as the implications of Noah's plan sank in. Major General Winters stepped forward, his face grave. "You understand the risks, Clark?" he asked quietly. Noah nodded. "I do, sir, but I also understand the potential reward. This could buy us the time we desperately need." Winters held Noah's gaze for a long moment, then nodded sharply. "Do it," he ordered. "Assemble your team and prepare for immediate departure." As Noah moved to carry out his orders, Dr. Foster approached him, his face alight with a mix of excitement and concern. "Noah," he said urgently, "I've made a discovery about the genetic trait in human children that initially attracted the Miserians. It could potentially be weaponized against the invaders." Noah's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. "We need to protect Earth's children at all costs," he said, his grit hardening. "This information doesn't leave this room for now. We can't risk the Miserians finding out." With time running out, Noah quickly assembled his strike team. Captain Sarah Wilson Zarel and a select group of human and Zarthal operatives gathered in the launch bay, their faces set with willpower. As they boarded the modified Zarthal scout ship, Noah took one last look at the Earth, visible through the bay's force field. The fate of his home planet, of all humanity, now rested on the success of this mission. The ship's engines roared to life, drowning out the sounds of the frantic preparations still underway in the facility. As they lifted off, accelerating towards the stars, Noah's mind was focused on the monumental task ahead. They were about to confront a vastly superior alien force, armed only with their skills, their dedication, and the element of surprise. As Earth receded behind them, Noah turned his attention to the vast expanse of space before them, where the Miserian fleet awaited. The true test of humanity's resilience was about to begin. The true test of humanity's resilience was about to unfold in the depths of space. The modified Zarthal scout ship streaked through the void, its engines pushed to their limits. Inside, Noah Clark and his strike team prepared for their high-stakes mission. Captain Sarah Wilson ran final checks on their weapon systems, while Zarel's slender fingers danced across the ship's controls, guiding them towards their target. ETA to Miserian fleet perimeter. 5 minutes, Zarel announced, her voice calm despite the tension that filled the cramped cockpit. Noah nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The sheer scale of the approaching Miserian armada made his stomach churn. Thousands of warships, each one a behemoth of alien technology, advanced inexorably towards Earth. "Activating cloaking systems," Sarah reported, her voice steady as she engaged the reverse-engineered Miserian technology. The ship shimmered and seemed to fade from view. Noah held his breath as they approached the outer edge of the Miserian fleet. Moments passed in tense silence before Zarel confirmed, "We're through." They haven't detected us. Weaving through the massive alien vessels, Noah was struck by their imposing size and otherworldly design. Each ship dwarfed their small craft, a stark reminder of the overwhelming odds they faced. As they neared the center of the formation, a colossal structure came into view, the Mazarian flagship. Its hull bristled with weapon emplacements and strange, pulsing energy nodes. "There's our target," Noah said, pointing to the massive ship. "Take us in, Zar-El." The Zarthal pilot adjusted their course, but suddenly alarms blared throughout their ship. A previously invisible energy field shimmered into view around the flagship, blocking their approach. "New type of shielding," Zar-El reported. Her alien features creased with concern. "Our sensors can't penetrate it." Noah's mind raced, analyzing their options. An idea struck him, risky but potentially effective. "Zar-El, on my mark, divert all power to the engines. We're going to overload that field." Sarah's eyes widened. "Noah, that could fry our systems." "It's a risk we have to take," Noah replied grimly. He took a deep breath, watching the energy field grow closer. "No, sir." The ship lurched as its engines flared with incredible intensity. A blinding surge of energy erupted from their vessel, colliding with the Mazarian shield. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash, a gap appeared in the field. Their victory was short-lived. Alarms blared across the Mazarian fleet as their presence was finally detected. Enemy fighters poured out of nearby ships, racing towards them. "Zar-El, get us through that gap," Noah ordered, strapping himself into the weapon station. "Sarah, we've got incoming. Let's give them a warm welcome." The scout ship accelerated towards the opening in the shield as Mazarian fighters closed in. Noah and Sarah worked in perfect sync, their years of training evident as they unleashed a barrage of fire that kept the enemy at bay. Zar-El's piloting was nothing short of miraculous. She wove through the chaotic space battle, dodging enemy fire and debris with inhuman precision. They were meters from the flagship's main hangar when a massive energy surge emanated from the alien vessel. "They're charging their primary weapon," Sarah shouted, her eyes fixed on the sensor readings. "Targeting Earth's defensive fleet." Noah made a split-second decision. "Change of plans. Zar-El, crash us into that hangar." The Zarthal pilot didn't hesitate. She adjusted their trajectory and accelerated towards the hangar. The scout ship smashed through the force field, skidding across the deck in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Mazarian crew members scattered in panic as the human vessel ground to a halt. Noah was the first to his feet, ignoring the aches from the impact. "Everyone out! We need to move before they regroup." The strike team poured out of the battered ship, immediately engaging the shocked Mazarian defenders. Noah led the charge, his plasma rifle spitting deadly energy bolts as they fought their way deeper into the alien vessel. Using intelligence gathered from previous encounters, they navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the flagship. The team moved with precision, their diverse skills complementing each other as they overcame Mazarian resistance. As they battled towards the ship's command center, Noah's comm unit crackled to life. Dr. Ethan Foster's voice came through, breathless with excitement. "Noah, we've had a breakthrough. I'm sending you specs for a device that could incapacitate the entire Mazarian command structure." Noah quickly absorbed the information, his mind already formulating a new plan. He turned to his team, shouting over the sounds of battle. "Change of plan. Sarah, take half the team and create a diversion. Draw their forces away from the power core. The rest of you, with me." As Sarah led her group down a separate corridor, Noah, Zar-El, and the remaining operatives fought their way towards the flagship's primary power core. Using Dr. Foster's schematics, they began modifying the alien technology, working to create a massive electromagnetic pulse tuned to the Mazarian's neural frequency. Time was running out. Through the ship's internal communications, they could hear the countdown to the primary weapon's firing sequence. Earth's fate hung in the balance as Noah and his team raced against the clock. With Zar-El's expertise proving invaluable, they finally completed the modifications. Noah took a deep breath, his hand hovering over the activation switch. In this moment, the fate of humanity rested on their success. "Here goes everything," Noah muttered and pressed the button. A wave of electromagnetic energy surged through the flagship, spreading rapidly to the surrounding fleet. The effect was immediate and dramatic. All around them, Mazarian crew members collapsed, their neural systems overloaded by the carefully tuned frequency. As silence fell over the ship, Noah's comm unit crackled once more. Sarah's voice came through, tinged with a mix of exhaustion and excitement. "Noah, you did it. The Mazarians are down." "Not all of them," Noah replied, his voice grim with purpose. "Meet us at the bridge. We need to seize control of this ship and end this war once and for all." As Noah led his team towards their final confrontation, he knew that the next few moments would determine the future of Earth and humanity's place among the stars. The bridge of the Mazarian flagship loomed before them, a final barrier between humanity and victory. Noah's team moved with practiced efficiency, their weapons at the ready as they approached the massive doors. "This is it," Noah said, his voice low but determined. "Once we're through, we take control and end this war." Sarah nodded, her eyes scanning the corridor for any last-minute threats. "Let's hope it's that simple." As they neared the entrance, a sudden burst of energy erupted from hidden emplacements. Mazarian defenders, somehow shielded from the electromagnetic pulse, emerged from concealed positions. "Take cover," Noah shouted, diving behind a nearby console. The team scattered, returning fire as they sought shelter. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air, leaving scorch marks on the alien metal. Zar-El's live form twisted impossibly as she dodged incoming fire, her own weapon striking true with each shot. Noah's mind raced, analyzing the situation. The Mazarians had the advantage of entrenched positions, but their numbers were limited. He caught Sarah's eye and signaled a flanking maneuver. As Noah laid down suppressing fire, Sarah led a small group to circle around. The diversion worked, drawing the Mazarians' attention just long enough for Sarah's team to strike from behind. In a blur of coordinated movement, they neutralized the alien defenders. With the immediate threat eliminated, Noah approached the bridge doors. They were sealed tight, a final obstacle between them and their goal. "Zar-El, can you get us through?" Noah asked. The Zarthal operative examined the control panel, her elongated fingers dancing across the alien interface. "Yes, but it will take time. Their security protocols are extensive." Noah nodded. "Do it. Everyone else, watch our backs." I doubt that was their last line of defense. As Zar-El worked, the rest of the team took up defensive positions. The minutes stretched on, filled with tense silence broken only by the soft sounds of Zar-El's efforts. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. The Mazarians had detected their presence and were mobilizing a response. "Zar-El, we're running out of time," Noah urged. "Almost." "There," she replied, her concentration unwavering. The sound of approaching footsteps echoed down the corridor. Noah and Sarah exchanged glances, preparing for another fight. Just as the first Mazarian reinforcements rounded the corner, Zar-El let out a triumphant chirp. "Done!" The massive doors slid open with a hiss of hydraulics. Noah's team poured onto the bridge, weapons raised. They found themselves face to face with the highest-ranking Mazarian leaders still conscious after the electromagnetic pulse. At the center of the command deck stood a towering figure, the Mazarian Fleet Admiral Vexthor. "Surrender now," Noah demanded, his weapon trained on the alien leader. "Your fleet is incapacitated. This invasion is over." Vex Thor's multifaceted eyes narrowed, his mandibles clicking in what Noah recognized as a gesture of defiance. "You underestimate the persistence of the Mazarian Empire, human. We do not yield." With a swift motion, Vex Thor activated a nearby console. Alarm klaxons blared as a computerized voice announced, "Self-destruct sequence initiated. Detonation in 10 minutes." Noah's heart raced as he realized the implications. The destruction of the flagship would likely trigger a chain reaction, obliterating the surrounding fleet and potentially causing catastrophic damage to Earth's defenses. "Zar-El Sarah, work on disabling that self-destruct," Noah ordered. "I'll deal with the Admiral." As his teammates rushed to the ship's systems, Noah faced off against Vex Thor. The Mazarian leader assumed a combat stance, his powerful form radiating deadly intent. "Your species' martial arts are no match for mine, human," Vex Thor taunted. Noah didn't waste breath on a reply. He launched into action, closing the distance between them with explosive speed. Vex Thor met his charge, the two warriors clashing in a furious exchange of strikes. The Mazarian strength was overwhelming, each blow threatening to shatter bone. But Noah's human agility and adaptability allowed him to dance just out of reach, countering with precise strikes to vulnerable points. As they fought, Noah caught glimpses of Zar-El and Sarah working frantically at the ship's consoles. The countdown to detonation ticked relentlessly onward. Vex Thor's fighting style was a rigid, almost ritualistic form of combat. Noah recognized patterns in the aliens' movements, using his more diverse training to exploit openings. He weathered a flurry of strikes, allowing Vex Thor to overextend before countering with a devastating combination. The Mazarian admiral staggered back, clearly surprised by Noah's effectiveness. Noah pressed his advantage, his movements a fluid blend of various fighting styles from Earth's martial history. With a final, decisive move, Noah outmaneuvered Vex Thor. He slipped past the alien's guard and struck a critical nerve cluster, sending the massive Mazarian crashing to the deck. Breathing heavily, Noah secured Vex Thor before rushing to join Zar-El and Sarah. The countdown showed less than a minute remaining. "Status," he asked urgently. "We've bypassed most of the fail-safes," Sarah reported, her fingers flying across the alien keyboard. "But there's one last firewall we can't crack." Noah studied the Mazarian text scrolling across the screen, his mind racing. In a flash of insight, he recognized a pattern in the code, a reflection of Mazarian psychology. "Try this," he said, inputting a sequence based on his understanding of the alien's hierarchical thought processes. Zar-El's eyes widened in comprehension. She quickly integrated Noah's input with her technical knowledge, while Sarah applied her tactical expertise to predict the system's response. The final seconds ticked away as they worked in perfect synchronization. With a mere moment to spare, the self-destruct sequence halted. The bridge fell silent as the alarm ceased. Noah let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Well done, team. Now, let's take control of this ship and end this invasion for good." As they secured the bridge and its systems, Noah used the flagship's communication array to broadcast a message of surrender to the remaining Mazarian forces. The invasion that had threatened Earth's very existence was finally over. Or so they thought. Noah's comm unit crackled to life, Major General Winter's voice coming through with an urgent tone. "Clark, do you read me?" "Loud and clear, sir," Noah replied. "We've secured the Mazarian flagship and forced their surrender." "Outstanding work," Winter said, but his voice remained tense. "But we've got a new problem. Long-range sensors have detected another Mazarian fleet approaching from deep space. It's larger than anything we've seen before." Noah's mind raced with the implications. Their hard-won victory was only the beginning of a greater conflict. As he looked around at his team and the captured Mazarian bridge, he began formulating a plan. "Sir," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation, "I think I know how we can prepare for this new threat. But we'll need to act fast." As Noah outlined his strategy to Winters, he knew that the true test of humanity's resilience was yet to come. The fate of Earth and their newfound allies now hung in the balance, with an even greater challenge looming on the horizon. Noah's mind raced with possibilities, his tactical instincts kicking into high gear. "Understood, sir," he replied to Winters. "We'll need to act fast. I'm initiating Operation Bulwark immediately." Noah turned to his team, his eyes blazing with persistence. "All right, people. We've got work to do. Sarah, I need you to start coordinating the integration of Mazarian tech into our defense systems. Zar-El, you're with me. We're going to have a chat with our new friend, Admiral Vexthor." As Sarah nodded and rushed off to begin her task, Noah and Zar-El made their way to the secured area where they were holding the Mazarian leader. Vexthor glared at them as they entered, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the harsh light of the detention cell. Noah approached the alien, his stance confident but non-threatening. "Admiral, we need information about the incoming fleet. Cooperate, and we might be able to avoid further bloodshed." Vexthor clicked his mandibles in defiance. "I will reveal nothing human." Zar-El stepped forward, her elongated fingers dancing across a small device. "We have ways of encouraging cooperation, Admiral. It would be wise to speak freely." For the next hour, Noah and Zar-El employed a combination of psychological tactics and Zarthal technology to extract information from Vexthor. Slowly, details about the approaching armada began to emerge. "Supreme Commander Zuaix-Naar leads the fleet," Vexthor finally admitted, his voice a mixture of awe and fear. "Over 1,000 warships, armed with planet-killer weapons. You have no hope of survival." Noah's expression remained impassive, but his mind was already formulating strategies based on this new information. He nodded to Zar-El, and they left the detention area. "We need to fortify our defenses," Noah said as they strode through the corridors of the captured flagship. "And we need allies." He activated his comm unit. "Sarah, what's your status?" Sarah's voice came through, tinged with excitement. "Noah, you won't believe what we've discovered. The Mazarian shields and weapons are incredible. My brother James is already working on reverse engineering them. We might be able to adapt that EM pulse on a larger scale." "Excellent work," Noah replied. "Keep pushing. We'll need every advantage we can get." As they reached the bridge, Noah saw a new face among the bustling activity. A tall, imposing man with graying hair at his temples approached him. "Commander Jack Harper, Solar Defense Force," the man introduced himself. "Major General Winters sent me to assist with tactical planning." Noah nodded, grateful for the additional expertise. "Glad to have you, Commander. We're going to need your experience with large-scale space warfare." As Harper began outlining potential defensive strategies, Noah's mind wandered to another potential ally. He turned to Zar-El. "Can you establish a secure channel to Dana?" he asked. "We need to reach out to those Mazarian factions who might be willing to help us." Zar-El nodded and moved to a communications console. Within minutes, Dana's familiar face appeared on the screen. "Noah Clark," she said, her alien features set in a serious expression. "I've heard about the approaching fleet. How can we help?" Noah leaned in, his voice urgent but controlled. "Dana, we need to arrange a meeting between your faction and Earth's leadership. We stand a better chance united than divided." As Dana agreed, and they began to work out the details, Noah felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to see Dr. Ethan Foster, his face pale with a mix of excitement and concern. "Noah, I've made a discovery about that genetic trait in human children," Foster said, his voice low. It's potentially game-changing, but it's also ethically complex." Noah listened intently as Foster explained his findings. The possibility of a psychic link capable of disrupting Mazarian neural networks was indeed powerful, but the implications of using children in such a way deeply affected on him. As Foster finished his explanation, the ship's sensors began to light up. Commander Harper's voice cut through the tension on the bridge. "Long-range sensors are picking up the first signs of the Mazarian Armada," he announced. "They're entering the outer reaches of our solar system." Noah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of command settle on his shoulders. He looked around at his team, each member poised and ready for action. "All right, people," he said, his voice steady and resolute. "This is what we've been preparing for. Let's show them what humanity is made of." As the captured Mazarian flagship hummed with activity, Noah knew that the real battle was just beginning. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, would be decided in the coming days. But with his team by his side and their new allies standing with them, Noah felt a glimmer of hope. They had a fighting chance, and they were going to make it count. Noah's words galvanized the team into action. The captured Mazarian flagship became a hive of activity as humans and Zarthal alike worked tirelessly to prepare for the looming threat. "Colonel Steele," Noah called out, spotting the grizzled veteran across the bridge. "I need you and your team ready for a critical mission." Steele nodded, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Just say the word, sir." Noah quickly outlined a plan for Steele's infiltration team to sabotage the approaching Mazarian fleet. As Steele left to brief his squad, Noah turned his attention to the Wilson siblings. Sarah's fingers flew across the alien console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Noah, we've got something," she announced, her voice tight with excitement. "James and I have adapted the EM pulse technology. We're ready for a large-scale test." Noah leaned in, studying the complex diagrams on the screen. "How soon can we deploy?" "Give us an hour for the final calibrations," James replied, his eyes never leaving the intricate circuitry he was adjusting. "Then we can start mass production." "Make it happen," Noah ordered. He turned to find Commander Harper deep in discussion with Zar-El, holographic battle projections floating between them. Harper looked up as Noah approached. "Clark, we've got a strategy that might just work. Using the natural cover in the system, we can set up a series of ambush points. Hit-and-run tactics to whittle down their numbers before they reach Earth." Noah studied the projected battle plans, noting the ingenious use of asteroids and moons as cover. "Impressive work. Start coordinating with our fleet commanders immediately." As Noah moved across the bridge, he caught sight of Dr. Foster hunched over a workstation, his face pale and drawn. "Doctor, you look like you've seen a ghost. What's the status on your research?" Foster glanced around nervously before speaking in a low voice. "I've developed a prototype that can safely harness the children's abilities to disrupt Mazarian neural networks. But, Noah, the ethical implications." Noah placed a hand on Foster's shoulder, his expression grave. "I understand your concerns, Ethan. We'll proceed with caution. Set up limited testing under the strictest safety protocols. This could be our ace in the hole if things go south." Just then Zar-El approached, her slender form moving gracefully through the organized chaos of the bridge. "Noah, I've established contact with Dana. She's en route with a delegation of Mazarian defectors." Noah nodded, his mind already racing with the possibilities this new alliance could bring. "Excellent. Their inside knowledge could be crucial. Have them escorted directly to the war room when they arrive." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Noah found himself constantly moving between stations, coordinating efforts, making split-second decisions, and preparing for every contingency he could imagine. As he stood at the main viewport, watching Earth grow smaller in the distance, Noah's comm unit crackled to life. "Clark, this is Steele. We've successfully planted the sabotage devices, but we've been made. Taking heavy fire during exfil. Request immediate assistance." Noah's heart raced as he processed the implications. Steele's team carried vital intelligence that could turn the tide of the coming battle. Without hesitation, he turned to the bridge crew. Prep a Zarthal scout ship for immediate launch. I'm leading the rescue mission myself. As his team scrambled to protest, Noah held up a hand. This isn't up for debate. The success of Steele's mission could determine the outcome of this war. I'm not leaving them behind. Minutes later, Noah found himself at the helm of the sleek Zarthal vessel, a hand-picked rescue team at his back. As they accelerated away from the flagship, long-range sensors lit up with alerts. Sir, one of the crew called out. We're detecting multiple signatures entering the asteroid belt. It's the vanguard of the Mazarian Armada. Noah's face hardened as he pushed the ship's engines to their limit. The rescue mission had just become a race against time, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. As they hurtled through space, Noah's mind raced with the enormity of the situation. The imminent clash with the Mazarian Armada loomed large, but he forced himself to focus on the immediate task at hand, rescuing Steele and his team. Any signal from Colonel Steele? Noah asked, his eyes scanning the starfield ahead for any sign of the infiltration team's vessels. Faint transponder signal detected, sir, replied Lieutenant Kira Chun, her fingers dancing across the sensor array. It's weak, but it's definitely one of ours. Bearing 047, Mark III. Noah adjusted their course, pushing the Zarthal scout ship to speeds he hadn't thought possible. The sleek vessel responded beautifully, its alien technology allowing them to slip through space with an efficiency that still amazed him. Sir, multiple contacts approaching from the direction of the Mazarian fleet, Chin reported, her voice tense. Steele's team is caught between us and a squadron of enemy fighters. Noah's mind raced through tactical options. Weapon status. Charged and ready, sir, responded Sergeant Takashi Tanaka from the gunnery station. But we're outgunned if it comes to a straight fight. Then we won't fight straight, Noah decided. Tanaka, prepare to fire a spread of EM charges on my mark. Chun, plot a course that will take us through the debris field at coordinates 332 by 185. As they closed in on Steele's position, Noah could see the flashes of weapons fire in the distance. The infiltration team's ships were limping along, trailing debris and venting atmosphere in places. This is Clark to Steele. Do you copy? Noah broadcast on a secure channel. Static crackled for a moment before Steele's strained voice came through. Clark, never thought I'd be so happy to hear your voice. We're in a bad way here. Hold on, Colonel. We're coming in hot, Noah assured him. He then addressed his crew. All hands, brace for extreme maneuvers. Tanaka, fire EM spread. Now! The scout ship shuddered as it released a barrage of electromagnetic charges. The devices streaked towards the incoming Mazarian fighters, detonating in a cascade of blue-white energy that scrambled their systems. Noah seized a moment of confusion, pushing the scout ship into a series of tight turns and rolls that brought them alongside Steele's battered vessels. Initiate emergency docking procedures. Let's get them on board fast. As the rescue team worked to secure Steele's squad, Noah's comm unit lit up with an incoming transmission from Earth. Major General Winter's face appeared on the small screen, his expression grave. Clark, status report. Where the hell are you? Noah quickly explained the situation as he maneuvered the ship through the debris field, using the floating chunks of rock and metal to shield them from the regrouping Mazarian fighters. Winter's frown deepened. We need you back here now, Clark. The Mazarian Armada is advancing faster than we anticipated. Earth's defenses are ready, but we need every asset we have for what's coming. Understood, sir, Noah replied, his mind already plotting their return course. We've secured Steele and his team. The intel they've gathered could be the key to stopping this invasion before it reaches Earth. As if to punctuate his words, A series of explosions lit up space behind them. The sabotage devices planted by Steele's team had begun to activate, sowing chaos among the approaching Mazarian fleet. With Steele's team safely aboard and the Mazarian pursuers temporarily thwarted, Noah set a course back to Earth. As the blue marble of humanity's home grew larger in the view screen, he knew that the real battle was about to begin. The scout ship sensors suddenly blared a warning. A massive energy signature was building within the Mazarian fleet. Noah's blood ran cold as he realized what it meant. "They're charging their planet-killer weapons," he announced to the tense silence of the bridge. "We're out of time." Time. Without hesitation, Noah turned to his crew. "Prepare for emergency maneuvers," he ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We need to get this intel back to Earth immediately." As the scout ship accelerated towards their home planet, Noah's mind raced with possibilities. The sabotage devices were working, but the Mazarians were adapting quickly. They needed a new strategy and fast. Suddenly, a violent shudder ran through the ship. Alarms blared as the hull creaked under the strain of evasive maneuvers. Multiple Mazarian interceptors on R6. Lieutenant Chun called out, her fingers flying over the sensor controls. "They're gaining fast." Noah gritted his teeth, pushing the Zarthal vessel to its limits. "Tanaka, deploy countermeasures. We need to shake them off our tail." The scout ship lurched as Tanaka released a barrage of electromagnetic charges. The space behind them lit up with brilliant flashes as several Mazarian ships veered off course. Their systems temporarily scrambled. But it wasn't enough. A searing beam of energy lands past their port side. Missing by mere meters, Noah knew they couldn't outrun the entire Mazarian fleet. "Sir," Zarel's calm voice cut through the chaos, "I have an idea. The asteroid field at coordinates 332 by 185. We can use it to our advantage." Noah nodded, understanding immediately. "Do it. Everyone, brace for extreme maneuvers." Zarel's expert piloting skills shone as she guided the ship into a dense cluster of tumbling space rocks. The Zarthal vessel wove through the debris with preternatural precision, while their pursuers struggled to keep pace. But their reprieve was short-lived. A massive explosion rocked the ship, sending sparks flying across the bridge. The acrid smell of burning circuitry filled the air. "Direct hit to our starboard engine," Steele reported, his face grim. "We're losing power fast." Noah's mind raced through their options. Earth was still too far, and they were bleeding oxygen from multiple hull breaches. They needed a place to regroup and repair. "Plot a course for Phobos," he ordered, his decision made. "We'll use the Mars Defense Network for cover." As they limped towards a Martian moon, Noah could see the doubt in his crew's eyes. He knew what they were thinking. Phobos was too exposed, too close to the approaching Mazarian armada. But he had a plan. The journey to Phobos felt like an eternity. Every moment, Noah expected to see the flash of Mazarian weapons fire on their tail. But somehow, through a combination of Zarel's piloting and sheer luck, they managed to slip past the enemy's perimeter. As they approached the cratered surface of Phobos, a hidden hangar base suddenly revealed itself, blast doors sliding open to welcome them. "This is Major Elena Rodriguez of Phobos Outpost," a voice crackled over the comms. "You're clear for emergency landing, Zarthal vessel. Welcome to Mars' first line of defense." The scout ship touched down with a bone-jarring thud, its damaged systems finally giving out. As the hangar repressurized, Noah and his team stumbled out, greeted by a squad of armed soldiers led by a stern-faced woman. "Major Rodriguez," Noah said, extending his hand. "I'm Noah Clark. We have critical intel about the Mazarian fleet, but our ship took heavy damage during our escape." Rodriguez nodded briskly. "We'd been expecting you, Clark. Your arrival just triggered our early warning systems. A splinter group of Mazarian ships has broken off from the main fleet and is heading straight for Mars." Noah's blood ran cold. He turned to Steele, who was already pulling out a data drive. The sabotage mission was a success, Steele reported. We planted cyber weapons in key Mazarian vessels, including their flagship. But we also discovered something troubling. They've developed new energy shields that might resist our EMP weapons. Rodriguez's eyes widened at the news. This changes everything. We need to get this information back to Earth immediately. Noah nodded in agreement. Steele, take our ship once it's repaired. Get that data to Earth Command. I'll stay here with a small team to help coordinate the defense of Phobos. As Steele prepared for his crucial mission back to Earth, Noah turned his attention to the looming Mazarian threat. He gathered his remaining team members, including Zar-El, around a holographic display of the Martian system. Major Rodriguez, Noah said, studying the approaching enemy fleet, what kind of defenses are we working with here? Rodriguez activated the display, revealing a network of hidden weapon emplacements and stealth satellites around Mars and its moons. We've been preparing for this day for years, Clark, but we've never faced anything like the Mazarians before. Noah's mind raced as he absorbed the information. We need to adapt our defenses based on what we've learned about their new shields. Do you have an engineering team that can help modify your weapon systems? Rodriguez nodded, already tapping commands into her datapad. I'll have our best people on it immediately. But Clark, even with these modifications, I'm not sure we can hold off a determined Mazarian assault for long. Noah's expression hardened as he considered their options. The fate of Mars and possibly Earth itself hung in the balance. They needed a plan, something unexpected that could turn the tide against the approaching Mazarian fleet. As if on cue, his comm unit chimed with an incoming transmission. The face that appeared on the screen made Noah's heart skip a beat. Dana, he said, recognizing the Mazarian scientist who had become their unlikely ally. What's happening? Dana's expression was grim. Noah, I have urgent news about the fleet approaching Mars. The commander, Krovzor, is known for his brutality. He won't hesitate to use weapons of mass destruction to achieve his goals. Noah's mind raced with the implications of this information. Their defensive strategy would need to be reevaluated entirely. A prolonged engagement could put the entire Martian system at risk. As he processed this new threat, Noah's gaze fell on the holographic image of Phobos itself. An idea began to form. Audacious, perhaps even desperate, but with the potential to change the course of the battle. Major Rodriguez, Noah said, his voice tight with urgency. What can you tell me about Phobos gravitic generators? Rodriguez raised an eyebrow, clearly puzzled by the question. They are primarily used for maintaining artificial gravity within the outpost. Why do you ask? Noah's eyes gleamed with tenacity as he outlined his daring plan. I think it's time we turn Phobos itself into a weapon against the Mazarians. And we're going to need every ounce of ingenuity we have to pull it off. As Noah began explaining his strategy to the assembled team, alarms suddenly blared throughout the outpost. Lieutenant Chen's voice cut through the cacophony, her tone urgent. Multiple launch signatures detected from the Mazarian fleet. They're deploying some kind of autonomous attack drones, and they're heading straight for us. Noah's eyebrows furrowed as he realized the enormity of the challenge before them. They would have to execute his audacious plan while simultaneously defending against Krovzor's initial assault. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of Mars, but potentially the outcome of the entire war against the Mazarians. All right, people, Noah said, his voice carrying across the command center. We've got work to do. Let's show these Mazarians what happens when they pick a fight with humanity. With that, the outpost erupted into a flurry of activity. As Noah moved to coordinate their multifaceted defense, he couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The battle for Mars was about to begin, and the consequences would echo across the solar system. Noah took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. "Everyone listen up," he called out, his voice cutting through the tension in the command center. "We have a plan, but it's going to take every one of us working together to pull this off." As if on cue, the outpost shuddered violently. Lieutenant Chen's voice rang out. "Multiple impacts detected. The Mazarian drones are breaching our outer defenses." Noah's mind raced. They needed to act fast. "Major Rodriguez, initiate the gravitic generator modifications. We're going to use Phobos itself as our primary weapon." Rodriguez nodded, her fingers flying over the control panel. "Activating generators now. Orbital trajectory calculations in progress." The floor beneath them began to vibrate as the massive generators hummed to life. Noah could feel the subtle shift in gravity as Phobos began its controlled descent into a new orbit. "Sir," Zarael called out, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "The debris field is forming. Mazarian ships are entering the affected zone." Noah watched as the holographic representation of space around Mars became cluttered with swirling rocks and metal fragments. Several Mazarian vessels, caught off guard by the sudden change, collided with the larger pieces of debris. "Excellent," Noah said, allowing himself a small smile. "Now for Phase 2. Rodriguez, activate the weapon emplacements. Let's give these Mazarians a proper welcome." The Major complied, and suddenly the space around Phobos lit up with brilliant flashes of energy. The modified pulse weapons lanced out, striking the incoming drones. Many exploded instantly, their shields unable to withstand the new frequencies. But it wasn't enough. Noah's brow furrowed as he watched the remaining drones continue their approach, seemingly unfazed by the barrage. "Chun, deploy the EMP mines," Noah ordered. "Seed them throughout the debris field. Let's see how these drones handle a total systems failure." As the mines were launched, Noah turned his attention to the main Mazarian fleet. Through the chaos of the battle, he could make out a massive ship at the center, Kravzor's command vessel. "Zarael, focus our long-range scanners on that command ship," Noah said. "We need to find a weakness." Before Zarael could respond, the outpost rocked violently. Alarms blared as the acrid smell of smoke filled the air. "Direct hit to Sector 7. Rodriguez shouted over the din. "We've lost primary power to the eastern quadrant." Noah gripped the edge of the tactical display, his squeezing hard. "Evacuate all non-essential personnel to the underground bunkers. We can't risk dash." His words were cut short as another blast shook the facility. A support beam crashed down mere feet from where he stood. "Noah," Zarael called out, concern evident in her voice. "We need to move to a more secure location." But Noah stood his ground, his eyes fixed on the battle unfolding before him. "Not yet. We're close to turning the tide. I can feel it." As if in response to his words, the tactical display lit up with new information. The EMP mines had detonated, creating a wave of electromagnetic energy that washed over the remaining drones. One by one, they began to lose power, drifting harmlessly into the debris field. Noah allowed himself a moment of relief before focusing on their next move. "Rodriguez, what's the status of Dr. Foster's prototype?" The Major's fingers danced over her console. "The device is prepped and ready. Sir, but I must warn you, we've never tested it on this scale before. The consequences could be unpredictable." Noah nodded grimly. "Understood. But we're out of options. Activate the device." As Rodriguez complied, Noah felt a strange sensation wash over him. It started as a tingling at the base of his skull, then spread throughout his body. He blinked, trying to clear his suddenly blurry vision. "Sir," Zarael's voice seemed to come from far away. "Are you all right?" Noah shook his head, trying to focus. "I'm fine. What's happening with the Mazarian fleet?" He looked up at the tactical display and gasped. The Mazarian ships were in disarray, their formations breaking apart as they veered wildly off course. "It's working," Chun exclaimed. "The Mazarians are completely disoriented." But Noah barely heard her. His mind was suddenly filled with a cacophony of alien thoughts and emotions. Fear, confusion, anger. They washed over him in waves, threatening to overwhelm his senses. With a supreme effort of will, Noah forced himself to focus. He could sense the Mazarian commander, Krovzor, struggling to regain control of his forces. "Now's our chance," Noah said, his voice strained. "Rodriguez, activate the hidden missile silos on Mars. Target the Mazarian command ship and any other key vessels you can identify." As the missiles launched from the red planet's surface, Noah closed his eyes, concentrating on the alien minds he could now sense. With a thought, he pushed against their confusion, amplifying their disorientation. The effect was immediate. The Mazarian fleet, already in chaos, completely fell apart. Ships collided with each other in the debris field, while others simply powered down, drifting aimlessly in space. Noah opened his eyes just in time to see a massive explosion bloom in the center of the Mazarian formation. Krovzor's command ship, struck by multiple missiles, had been reduced to a rapidly expanding cloud of superheated gas and metal fragments. As the remaining Mazarian ships began to retreat, Noah slumped against the tactical display, exhausted. "We did it," he breathed, hardly able to believe it himself. But even as the immediate threat receded, Noah knew their struggles were far from finished. He could still sense the distant minds of the main Mazarian armada, and their intent was clear. Earth was their next target, and they were moving fast. "Zar-El," Noah said, straightening up despite his fatigue, "get me a secure line to Earth Command. We need to warn them about what's coming." As Zar-El moved to comply, Noah's mind raced with the implications of his newfound ability. It was a powerful tool, but also a terrible burden. He knew that in the coming battle for Earth, it might make the difference between victory and annihilation. The command center buzzed with activity as the crew worked to assess the damage and prepare for their next move. Noah stood at the center of it all, his gaze fixed on the distant stars where he knew the Mazarian armada waited. The battle for Phobos was over, but the war for humanity's survival was just beginning. Noah's gaze remained fixed on the stars, his mind already racing with plans for Earth's defense. He turned to Zar-El, his expression grave. "We need to move fast. Every second counts." Within minutes, the command center transformed into a hub of frenzied activity. Noah barked orders, his voice carrying over the din. Major Rodriguez began immediate evacuation procedures. Salvage any critical components from the outpost, especially that prototype device. "We're taking it with us." Rodriguez nodded sharply, her fingers flying over her datapad as she coordinated the efforts. "Understood. Sir, I'll oversee the operation personally." As the evacuation commenced, Noah felt a familiar tingling at the base of his skull. His newfound psychic abilities were picking up something unusual. He closed his eyes, focusing on the sensation. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen's voice cut through his concentration. "We're detecting a small Mazarian vessel approaching Phobos." Noah's eyes snapped open. Defensive stance, everyone. But hold your fire. He reached out with his mind, probing the intentions of the approaching ship's occupants. To his surprise, he sensed not hostility, but desperation and hope. "They're defectors," Noah announced, his voice tinged with amazement. "Led by a high-ranking officer named Vexlara. They're seeking asylum." The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. Noah made a split-second decision. Allow them to dock. Their knowledge could be invaluable. As the Mazarian defectors were brought aboard, Noah turned his attention back to their dire situation. The hastily repaired transport ship was nearly ready, loaded with salvaged equipment and evacuated personnel. Dr. James Wilson approached, cradling the prototype device that had awakened Noah's psychic abilities. "We've secured it, sir, but I must warn you, it's highly unstable. We'll need to work on it during our journey." Noah nodded grimly. "Do what you can, Doctor. That device might be our best hope against the Mazarian fleet." As they prepared for departure, Noah sought out Vexlara. The Mazarian officer stood apart from her compatriots, her posture rigid with tension. "Welcome aboard," Noah said, extending his hand. "I'm Noah Clark." Vexlara regarded him warily before accepting the gesture. "You took a great risk allowing us to join you." "Why?" Noah's expression hardened. "Because Earth needs every advantage it can get. Your inside knowledge of Supreme Commander Zuaixanar's plans could make the difference between victory and annihilation." The transport ship shuddered as it broke free from Phobos' artificial gravity. Noah made his way to the bridge, where Zar-El was coordinating their flight path. "Set course for Earth," Noah ordered, "and patch me through to Colonel Steele. We need to warn them about what's coming." As they hurtled through space, Noah worked tirelessly with Zar-El and Vexlara, integrating the intelligence from the Phobos battle with the defectors' information. They pored over star charts and tactical displays, developing strategies to exploit the growing divisions within the Mazarian fleet. In the ship's makeshift laboratory, Dr. Wilson and his team labored over the psychic amplification device. The air crackled with energy as they ran test after test, refining its output and stabilizing its core. Days into their journey, as Earth's defensive perimeter loomed on their sensors, an urgent transmission cut through the ship's communications. Colonel Steele's holographic image flickered to life, his face etched with tension. "Noah, thank God you're alive. The situation here is critical. Our cyber weapons have hit the Mazarian fleet hard, but Zuaixanar's contain the damage. He's launched a full-scale assault on our outer defenses." Noah's eyebrows furrowed. "Understood, Colonel. We're inbound with vital intelligence and a potential game-changer. Have Major General Winters meet us at the primary orbital defense station." As their ship docked with the station, Noah could see the flashes of battle illuminating Earth's atmosphere. The planet he had sworn to protect looked terrifyingly vulnerable. Major General Winters was waiting as they disembarked, her face a mask of unbreakable spirit. "Welcome back, Clark. I hope you've brought us a miracle." Noah gestured to the team behind him. "Something close to it, General, but we need to act fast." In the station's main briefing room, Noah laid out his daring plan. The general's eyes widened as he described the psychic attack on the Mazarian fleet. "It's risky," Winters said, her brow furrowed. "Using the station's array like that will leave us exposed." Noah nodded. "I know, but it's our best shot at turning the tide." As the station's crew scrambled to implement the plan, Noah took personal command of the defense forces. He coordinated with Captain Sarah Wilson, watching as her fighter squadrons formed a protective screen around the station. Zar-El approached, her eyes shining with grit. "Noah, I've assembled a mixed team of human and Zarthal pilots. We're ready to run interference against the Mazarian formations." Noah clasped her shoulder. "Good luck out there. We're all counting on you." As the final preparations were made, long-range sensors blared a warning. Noah's blood ran cold as he saw the massive energy buildup within Zuaixanar's flagship. Vexlara's voice was thick with fear. "It's the superweapon. If it fires, Earth's surface will be devastated." Noah's tenacity hardened. There was no more time for doubt or hesitation. He strode purposefully towards the specially prepared chamber housing the psychic amplification device. "Captain Wilson," he called out, "the station is in your hands. Buy me as much time as you can." As Noah connected himself to the device, he could hear the sounds of battle raging outside. The station shook with the impact of Mazarian weapons fire. He closed his eyes, focusing his mind on the task ahead. The chamber hummed with energy, building to a crescendo as Noah channeled his abilities through the station's powerful array. With a burst of blinding light, the psychic wave erupted from the station. Noah's consciousness expanded, touching the minds of thousands of Mazarian soldiers and officers. He felt their confusion, their fear, and their growing doubts about their mission. Noah pushed harder, amplifying those doubts, turning confusion into chaos. Through the haze of psychic energy, Noah could see the effects of his attack. Mazarian ships veered wildly off course, their formations disintegrating. Some turned their weapons on their own allies, while others simply powered down, drifting aimlessly in space. But as the wave of energy dissipated, Noah's heart sank. ZYXNAR's flagship remained unaffected, its superweapon still primed to fire. Exhausted and drained, Noah staggered from the chamber. He gripped the nearest console for support, his mind racing for a solution. All available forces, he croaked into the comm system, converge on ZYXNAR's flagship. It's our last chance to stop that superweapon. As Earth's combined forces moved to confront the Mazarian command ship, Noah fought to recover his strength. He knew that his unique abilities might be needed again in the coming moments. The fate of humanity hung in the balance as the final confrontation loomed. Noah watched the tactical display, his heart pounding as friendly and enemy ships clashed in a desperate battle around ZYXNAR's flagship. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The true test of humanity's grit was about to begin. The true test of humanity's grit was about to unfold in the vast expanse of space. Noah's eyes darted across the tactical display, tracking the movements of Earth's combined forces as they converged on ZYXNAR's flagship. His head throbbed from the intense psychic exertion, but he forced himself to focus on the unfolding battle. The orbital defense station shuddered under another barrage from the remaining Mazarian loyalists. Alarms blared as damage reports flooded in from multiple decks. Structural integrity at 68% and falling, a technician called out, her voice strained. Major General Winters strode into the command center, her face set with dogged grit. Clark, we're initiating Operation Prism. It's time to see if our reverse-engineered tech can turn the tide. Noah nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Operation Prism was Earth's ace in the hole, an experimental energy-focusing satellite network derived from captured Mazarian technology. If it worked, it could amplify their conventional weapons to devastating effect. Do it, Noah said, his voice hoarse from shouting orders. Winters turned to her communications officer. Send the activation codes. All hands, prepare for potential power fluctuations. As technicians scrambled to bring the satellite network online, Noah's attention shifted to the space battle unfolding before them. Captain Sarah Wilson's voice crackled over the comms. Strike force engaging ZYXNAR's guard ships. It's a hornet's nest out here. Through the viewport, Noah watched as Earth's most advanced fighters, led by Wilson and Zar-El, clash with the elite Mazarian defenders. The dogfight was a dizzying array of energy weapons and impossibly tight maneuvers. Keep them distracted, Captain, Noah ordered. Colonel Steele's team needs every second we can buy them. As if on cue, an encrypted transmission came through. This is Steele. We've breached the outer hull. Moving towards the bridge now. These Mazarian defectors are worth their weight in gold. Noah allowed himself a small smile. The plan was working, but the battle was far from won. He turned as Dr. James Wilson approached, carrying what looked like a modified neural interface. Noah, we've made a breakthrough, the scientist said, his eyes bright with excitement despite the chaos around them. This should allow you to focus your abilities with much greater precision. You might even be able to target specific individuals in the Mazarian command structure. Noah eyed the device warily, remembering the toll his last psychic assault had taken. But as another tremor shook the station, he knew they were running out of options. "Let's do it," he said, taking the interface from Dr. Wilson. As Noah prepared to connect to the system, a cheer went up from the technicians monitoring Operation Prism. "Energy Focusing Network is online," one of them shouted. Weapons efficacy increased by 300% and climbing. The effect was immediate and stunning. Earth's amplified weapons tore through the Mazarian flagship's shields, leaving scorch marks and hull breaches in their wake. Noah took a deep breath and activated the neural interface. The world around him faded as his consciousness expanded, reaching across the void of space towards a Mazarian flagship. He pushed through layers of psychic defenses, searching for his target. Suddenly, he felt it, an alien mind of immense power and complexity. Supreme Commander ZYXNAR. The mental contact was like plunging into an icy, turbulent sea. ZYXNAR's thoughts were a maelstrom of alien concepts and strategies, nearly overwhelming Noah's human perception. But he pushed forward, searching for weaknesses in the Mazarian leader's mental fortifications. As their minds clashed, Noah caught glimpses of ZYXNAR's plans, fragmented images of the superweapon's inner workings. What he saw chilled him to his core. "The weapon," Noah gasped, blood trickling from his nose. "It's powered by children, human children with the genetic trait." The revelation sent shockwaves through the command center, but Noah couldn't afford to lose focus. He redoubled his efforts, pushing his abilities to their absolute limit as he tried to disrupt ZYXNAR's control over the weapon. The strain was immense. Noah could feel blood vessels bursting in his eyes, his ears ringing with the psychic feedback. But he refused to break the connection, knowing that Earth's fate hung in the balance. Suddenly, alarms blared across the station. Energy spike detected in the Mazarian flagship. A sensor operator yelled, "They're powering up the superweapon." Noah's heart raced as he realized ZYXNAR had initiated the firing sequence prematurely. The massive ship began to glow with an otherworldly energy, building to potentially catastrophic levels. "All units, concentrate fire on that flagship," Major General Winters ordered, her voice tight with urgency. As Earth's forces intensified their assault, Noah made a final, desperate push against ZYXNAR's mental defenses. He summoned every ounce of strength he had left, focusing it into a single, overwhelming attack. For a fraction of a second, he broke through. ZYXNAR's iron control slipped, and confusion rippled through the Mazarian command structure. In that moment of chaos, Noah heard Colonel Steele's voice over the comms. "We're on the bridge. Engaging ZYXNAR's guard now." But the victory was short-lived. Noah sensed the superweapon's core becoming dangerously unstable, its energy building to levels that threatened to tear the flagship apart. With Earth's destruction imminent, and his own mind on the brink of collapse, Noah made a fateful choice. He channeled every last bit of his psychic energy into the superweapon's core, attempting to disrupt its firing sequence from within. The effort threatened to shatter his consciousness completely, but Noah pushed on, driven by the knowledge that this was humanity's last hope. As he poured his will into the weapon's unstable heart, the world around him faded to white. The last thing Noah heard before losing consciousness was a sensor operator's frantic voice. Massive energy fluctuation detected in the Mazarian flagship. The core is destabilizing. As Noah slumped in his chair, blood streaming from his nose and ears, the orbital defense station's viewport was filled with a blinding light. The Mazarian flagship seemed to pulse with internal energy, its fate, and that of Earth, hanging in the balance as the superweapon's disrupted power turned inward. In the 10 seconds that followed, the entire command center held its breath, waiting to see if Noah's bold strategy had saved them all or if they were about to witness the end of everything they had fought so hard to protect. As the blinding light faded, the viewport revealed the aftermath of Noah's high-stakes endeavor. The Mazarian flagship, once an imposing behemoth, now crumbled before their eyes. Its massive hull peeled away in great chunks, disintegrating into the void as the destabilized superweapon core imploded. A collective gasp echoed through the command center. Major General Winters leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Status report now." "The flagship's breaking apart, ma'am," a sensor operator called out. "We're detecting massive spatial distortions around the wreckage." Winters nodded grimly. "Captain Wilson, what's your status?" Sarah's voice crackled over the comms, strained but determined. "We're moving in for extraction. Steele and his team are still aboard that mess. It's like flying through a minefield out here." On the main view screen, Earth's fighters darted between fragments of the disintegrating Mazarian ship. Energy fluctuations rippled through space, forcing the pilots into a deadly dance of precision maneuvers. "Bring them home, Captain," Winters ordered. "Whatever it takes." As the rescue operation unfolded, chaos erupted in the command center. Alarms blared as medical personnel rushed to Noah's side. The young psychic lay motionless, blood trickling from his nose and ears. Dr. James Wilson worked feverishly to disconnect Noah from the neural interface. "We need to stabilize him now. His neural patterns are all over the place." Winters watched as they carried Noah's limp form away on a stretcher, her eyebrows furrowed tight. She turned back to the tactical display, forcing herself to focus on the battle at hand. "Ma'am, we're picking up widespread disruption in the Mazarian fleet," a communications officer reported. "Their command structure seems to be collapsing." The view screen showed the once organized Mazarian armada fracturing before their eyes. Entire battle groups peeled away, fleeing into deep space. Others turned their weapons on each other, energy beams crisscrossing the void as internal power struggles erupted. Winter's eyes narrowed. "This is our chance. Recalibrate the Prism network. Target their key offensive systems and cripple as many ships as you can." As Earth's amplified weapons lashed out at the disorganized Mazarian fleet, Zarel's voice came through the comms. "General, my squadron is moving to engage. We'll knock out their engines and leave them dead in space." The battle shifted rapidly in Earth's favor. Mazarian ships, their shields already weakened, buckled under the precision strikes. Zarel's mixed human and Zarthal squadron wove through the chaos, their coordinated attacks leaving a trail of disabled vessels in their wake. Just as victory seemed within reach, a new alert blared through the command center. Multiple Mazarian destroyers breaking formation. A tactical officer shouted, "They're on a direct course for Earth's population centers." Winter's blood ran cold as she saw the rogue ships accelerating towards her homeworld. "How many?" "At least 5 heavy destroyers, ma'am. They're pushing their engines to the limit." The general's mind raced, calculating options and potential casualties. With Noah down and their forces spread thin, there was only one choice. "Redirect the Prism network," she ordered, her voice heavy. "Intercept those destroyers at all costs." As the energy-focusing satellites reoriented, leaving Earth's forces exposed, Vexlara stepped forward. The Mazarian defector's eyes gleamed with urgency. "General, there may be another way. There's a faction within the fleet, scientists, lower-ranking officers. They oppose this invasion, the use of human children. Let me contact them. We may be able to turn a significant portion of the remaining fleet to our side." Winters stared at Vexlara, weighing the risk against the potential reward. After a moment, she nodded. "Do it. Captain Wilson, form a small team to assist and protect Vexlara. This could change everything." As Sarah acknowledged the order, Dr. Ethan Foster burst into the command center, his face flushed with excitement. "General, you need to see this. The data from the Mazarian flagship. It's incredible. The genetic trait they were exploiting in human children. It's not just a weapon. There's potential for so much more. This could revolutionize our understanding of psychic phenomena, maybe even give us new ways to defend against future threats." Winters absorbed the information, her mind already racing ahead to the implications. She turned back to the tactical display, watching as Earth's forces scrambled to confront the multiple crises unfolding before them. The Prism Network's energy beams lanced out towards the rogue Mazarian destroyers, while Vexlara prepared to make contact with potential defectors. In the medical bay, doctors fought to stabilize Noah's condition. On the fringes of the battle, Sarah Wilson's team escorted Vexlara's shuttle towards a prearranged rendezvous point. And in labs across the orbital station, scientists pored over the data from the destroyed Mazarian flagship, searching for keys to humanity's future. The next few hours would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but potentially the course of human history. As Winters issued a flurry of orders, coordinating Earth's military and scientific efforts, she knew that every decision, every action, could tip the balance between survival and extinction. The battle for Earth's future raged on, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. Balance. The command center erupted into a flurry of activity as reports flooded in from all fronts. "Ma'am, we've neutralized 3 of the rogue destroyers," a tactical officer called out, his voice strained with tension. "But 2 have broken through our outer defenses. They're entering Earth's atmosphere." General Winter's eyes sharp as she processed the information. "Deploy all available ground-based defenses," she ordered, "and get me a direct line to our fighter squadrons." As the general coordinated Earth's response, the sky above major population centers transformed into a battleground. Advanced fighter jets screamed through the air, engaging the Mazarian destroyers in a deadly dance of energy weapons and missiles. On the ground, anti-aircraft batteries opened fire, their projectiles streaking upwards like luminous spears. Millions of civilians watched in awe and terror as the battle unfolded above their heads. The night sky blazed with explosions and weapons fire, casting an eerie glow over city skylines. In the orbital command center, a communications officer's voice cut through the chaos. "General, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Wilson's team. They've made contact with the Mazarian defectors." Winter's attention snapped to the main view screen, where Captain Sarah Wilson's face appeared, her expression a mix of excitement and urgency. "General, this is Wilson. We've successfully established communication with a Mazarian scientist named Kreltor. He's leading a faction willing to defect to our side." "Excellent work, Captain," Winters replied. "What are we looking at in terms of numbers?" "It's significant, ma'am. At least a third of the remaining Mazarian fleet is ready to switch sides. They're transmitting authentication codes now." As the defecting Mazarian ships began to turn their weapons on their former allies, the tide of the space battle shifted dramatically. Earth's forces, bolstered by their new allies, pressed their advantage. But the victory in space did little to alleviate the immediate threat on Earth's surface. The 2 Mazarian destroyers that had breached the atmosphere continued their relentless advance. "General, one of the destroyers is on a direct course for New York City," a sensor operator reported. "Lieutenant Jack Morrison's squadron is moving to intercept." The command center's main display shifted to show a bird's-eye view of Manhattan. The Mazarian destroyer loomed over the city like a malevolent storm cloud, its weapons primed to unleash devastation. Lieutenant Morrison's voice crackled over the comms. "This is Raptor Lead. We're approaching the target. These buildings are going to make things interesting." What followed was a masterclass in urban aerial combat. Morrison's squadron used the city's towering skyscrapers as cover, weaving between buildings and emerging at unexpected angles to pepper the Mazarian ship with weapons fire. "Now!" Morrison shouted. His fighters executed a perfectly timed pincer movement, catching the destroyer in a crossfire that overwhelmed its shields. The Mazarian ship listed to one side, trailing smoke and debris. Its main weapons went dark as it struggled to maintain altitude. "Target's primary systems are down," Morrison reported. "It's going down outside the city limits." A cheer went up in the command center, but it was short-lived. General, we've lost track of the second destroyer, a tactical officer announced, his voice tight with concern. It's using some kind of advanced cloaking technology. Last known trajectory put it on course for the Seoul metropolitan area. Winters turned to Dr. James Wilson, who had been monitoring the situation from a nearby console. Doctor, options? Wilson hesitated for a moment, then spoke. We might have a way to penetrate their cloak, but it's risky. The psychic amplification device we used on Noah, we could adapt it for a group of children with the genetic trait. Their combined abilities might be enough to disrupt the cloaking field. Winter's eyes narrowed. You're talking about using children as weapons, Doctor. As a detection system, ma'am, Wilson corrected. And only volunteers, under strict medical supervision. A tense debate erupted among the command staff, but time was running out. With a heavy heart, Winters gave the go-ahead. Dr. Ethan Foster oversaw the procedure, connecting a small group of children to a modified version of the psychic amplifier. The children's faces were a mix of commitment and fear as the device hummed to life. For several agonizing moments, nothing happened. Then, one of the children gasped, his eyes wide. I can see it, he cried. It's like a shadow in the sky. On the tactical display, the outline of the Mazarian destroyer flickered into view over Seoul. Its cloaking field wavered and collapsed under the combined psychic assault. We have a lock, a weapons officer shouted. Ground-based ion cannons are online and targeting. Winters gave the order. Fire. Reverse-engineered ion cannons, stationed around Seoul, fired in unison. Their energy beams lanced upward, joined by a barrage of missiles from South Korean fighter jets. The Mazarian destroyer, caught off guard by the sudden attack, couldn't bring its shields up in time. The ship's hull buckled under the assault. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as it began to break apart in the upper atmosphere. Smaller fragments burned up on re-entry, while larger pieces were vaporized by precisely targeted energy weapons. As the immediate threat subsided, attention in the command center shifted to the aftermath. Reports flooded in from around the globe. Damage assessments, casualty reports, and urgent requests for aid and information. Amidst the chaos, a medical officer approached General Winters. Ma'am, we're picking up unusual brain activity from Noah Clark. He's showing signs of consciousness. Winters nodded, her mind already racing to the challenges ahead. The battle was won, but Earth's defenses lay in tatters. As she began issuing orders for recovery and reconstruction efforts, a new alert chimed on the main console. General, a communications officer called out, his voice tinged with confusion. We're detecting a transmission from deep space. Origin unknown. It appears to be a response to the energy signatures from our battle. Winters stared at the incoming data, a chill running down her spine. Earth had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. What new challenges would this bring? As Noah Clark stirred in the medical bay, his evolved abilities a wild card in humanity's future, Earth stood on the precipice of a new era, one filled with both incredible potential and unknown dangers. Dangers, as the command center processed the implications of the mysterious deep space transmission, Noah Clark's condition took an unexpected turn. In the medical bay, Noah's eyes fluttered open, his gaze unfocused but alert. Dr. Foster, who had been monitoring his vitals, leaned in. Noah, can you hear me? Noah's voice was barely a whisper. Everything's different. I can see, feel, so much more. General Winters arrived moments later, her face etched with concern and curiosity. Doctor, what's his status? His brain activity is off the charts, Foster replied, gesturing to a display of neural scans. It's as if his encounter with the Mazarian device has fundamentally altered his psychic capabilities. Noah sat up slowly, his eyes darting around the room. The transmission, he said. his voice stronger now. "I can sense it. It's calling to us." Winters exchanged a glance with Foster. "What do you mean, Noah?" "It's not just data," Noah explained, his hands moving as if tracing invisible patterns in the air. "It's alive somehow, and it wants us to respond." Over the next few days, Noah's recovery accelerated at an astonishing rate. His enhanced abilities became apparent as he worked with Dr. James Wilson and a team of human and Mazarian scientists to decode the alien transmission. In a specially designed lab, Noah stood before a holographic display of the signal's waveform. With a gesture, he manipulated the data, unraveling complex patterns that had stumped the most advanced computers. "There," he said, pointing to a sequence of pulses. "That's not just noise. It's coordinates." Dr. Wilson leaned in, his eyes wide. "My God, you're right. But how did you?" Noah shrugged. "I can feel the intent behind the signal. It's like a fingerprint of thought." As Noah and the scientific team made breakthrough after breakthrough, Earth's military leadership convened an emergency meeting. General Winters addressed the assembled officers and civilian advisors. "Ladies and gentlemen, we stand at a crossroads," she began. "The signal we've received is an invitation, or perhaps a test. We must decide how to respond." The debate was heated. Some argued for caution, warning of potential traps or hostile intentions. Others saw an opportunity to establish Earth as a galactic power. In the end, the decision was made. Earth would answer the call. The ESS Horizon, a cutting-edge starship incorporating the best of human and Mazarian technology, was quickly prepared for the mission. Its crew represented the finest Earth had to offer. Captain Sarah Wilson at the helm, Dr. Ethan Foster leading the scientific team, and Vex Lara as a cultural and technological liaison. And at the heart of the mission was Noah Clark, his enhanced abilities making him an invaluable asset. As the day of launch approached, Earth faced internal turmoil. News of children with psychic abilities being used in the Mazarian conflict had leaked, sparking protests and ethical debates. Outside the secure launch facility, crowds gathered. Some held signs supporting the mission, others condemning the use of child weapons. Security forces maintained a tense cordon as the crew of the ESS Horizon made their final preparations. Noah, now dressed in a sleek uniform bearing the mission patch, paused at the foot of the boarding ramp. He turned to Dr. James Wilson, who had become a mentor and father figure. "What if I'm not ready?" Noah asked, his voice low. Wilson placed a hand on Noah's shoulder. "You've grown more in these past weeks than most do in a lifetime. Trust your instincts and remember, you're not alone up there." With a nod, Noah boarded the ship. The ESS Horizon lifted off smoothly, accelerating through the atmosphere and into the void of space. As they cleared the solar system, Noah felt a faint tug at the edge of his consciousness. He made his way to the bridge, where Captain Wilson was overseeing their trajectory. "Captain," Noah said, "I'm picking up something. It's faint but persistent." Wilson turned to her sensor officer. "Anything on our scopes?" "Negative, ma'am. All readings normal." Noah closed his eyes, concentrating. "It's coming from the direction of our destination. Like a beacon." Captain Wilson studied Noah for a moment, then nodded. "Keep monitoring it. Let me know if anything changes." As the ESS Horizon continued its journey, the crew settled into their routines. Dr. Foster ran continuous tests on Noah, marveling at the boy's expanding abilities. Vex Lara provided insights into Mazarian technology, helping to fine-tune the ship systems. Days into their voyage, alarms blared across the ship. "Massive debris field ahead," the navigator announced. On the main view screen, a vast swath of twisted metal and fractured hull plates stretched as far as the eye could see. Captain Wilson ordered the ship to a halt. "Analysis?" she asked. "DR." Foster leaned over a console, his brow furrowed. It appears to be the remnants of a battle, but the technology, it's like nothing we've ever seen. There's more, Noah added, his eyes unfocused as he reached out with his mind. These aren't just dead ships. There's information encoded in the wreckage. Captain Wilson turned to Vexlara. Can we safely navigate through? The Mazarian nodded. Yes, but I recommend we collect samples. This could be invaluable data. As the ESS Horizon carefully maneuvered through the debris field, the crew worked to gather and analyze fragments of the ancient battle. Dr. Foster and Vexlara pored over the artifacts, their excitement growing with each discovery. Suddenly, Noah stiffened. Captain, we're not alone. Before Wilson could respond, the sensor officer called out, Multiple contacts. Closing fast. The view screen shifted to show a group of sleek, alien vessels surrounding the ESS Horizon. Their design was unlike anything in human or Mazarian records. Shields up, Wilson ordered. Weapons on standby, but do not engage. Noah stepped forward, his eyes closed in concentration. They're curious. I don't sense any hostility, but they're cautious. A chime sounded, indicating an incoming transmission. Captain Wilson took a deep breath. This is it, she said. Let's make first contact. As the holographic image materialized on the bridge, the crew of the ESS Horizon found themselves face to face with the next chapter in humanity's journey to the stars. Stars. The holographic image flickered to life, revealing a being unlike anything the crew had ever encountered. The alien stood nearly 8 feet tall, its body a shimmering, iridescent blue. Multiple arms extended from its torso, each ending in delicate, multi-jointed appendages. Its head was elongated with large, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Greetings, travelers. The alien spoke, its voice resonating through the bridge with a melodic quality. I am ZYRX of the YXthari. We have been expecting you. Captain Wilson stepped forward, her posture straight and confident despite her racing heart. I am Captain Sarah Wilson of the Earthship ESS Horizon. We come in peace and in response to your invitation. ZYRX's eyes pulsed brightly. We are pleased you have come. Your arrival is most timely. We request permission to dock your vessel with our station. There is much to discuss. Wilson glanced at Noah, who nodded almost imperceptibly. Permission granted, ZYRX. We look forward to meeting in person. The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the ESS Horizon maneuvered into position alongside the massive YXthari space station. The alien structure dwarfed the Earthship, its architecture a mesmerizing blend of organic curves and geometric precision. As the docking procedure completed, Captain Wilson assembled her team. Dr. Foster, Vexlara, Noah, you're with me. The rest of you, maintain standby status and keep in constant communication. The human delegation made their way to the airlock, each lost in their own thoughts about the momentous encounter ahead. As the doors slid open, they were greeted by a pair of YXthari guides, their bodies glowing softly in the station's ambient light. Welcome, one of the guides said, gesturing with 2 of its arms. Please follow us. The team stepped into the station, immediately struck by the vast scale of the interior. The corridor they walked through seemed to stretch endlessly, its walls adorned with shimmering patterns that shifted and changed as they passed. Noah's eyes were wide, his enhanced senses drinking in every detail. It's incredible, he whispered to Dr. Foster. I can feel the energy flowing through the entire structure. It's alive, somehow. As they walked, Vexlara studied the technology around them with barely concealed awe. This level of advancement. It makes even Mazarian technology look primitive in comparison. After what seemed like an eternity of twisting corridors and soaring chambers, they arrived at a massive set of doors that parted silently at their approach. Inside was a circular chamber, its dome sealing a perfect representation of the galaxy, stars twinkling realistically overhead. In the center of the room stood 7 HFY, their bodies more ornate and luminescent than their guides. The one in the center, clearly ZYRX, stepped forward. "Welcome, humans, to the heart of our civilization," ZYRX said, spreading its arms wide. "We are the High Council of the HFY, and we have much to share with you." Captain Wilson inclined her head respectfully. "We are honored to be here, High Counselor. May I present my team? Dr. Ethan Foster, our Chief Scientist, Vex Lara, our Mazarian ally, and Noah Clark, who possesses unique abilities that may be of interest to you." ZYRX's gaze lingered on Noah, who met the alien's eyes without flinching. "Yes, we sense great potential in this young one. It is one of the reasons we have called you here." The head counselor's tone grew serious. "But there is a greater purpose to our invitation. A threat looms on the horizon, one that endangers not just our civilizations, but the entire galaxy." The holographic stars above them shifted, coalescing into the image of a dark, ominous fleet of ships. They are known as the Void Hunters, an ancient and terribly aggressive species that has awakened from millennia of dormancy. Their hunger is insatiable, their technology beyond even our comprehension. As ZYRX spoke, Noah felt a strange pressure building in his mind. The holographic image began to waver, replaced by a vivid vision that seared itself into his consciousness. He saw the Void Hunter fleet in terrifying detail, watched as it moved through space like a plague of locusts, leaving nothing but devastation in its wake. The intensity of the vision overwhelmed Noah's senses. He staggered, his legs giving way beneath him. Dr. Foster rushed to his side, supporting the boy as he collapsed to the floor. "Noah!" Foster called out, his medical training kicking in as he checked the boy's vital signs. "What's happening?" The HFY council members gathered around, their bodies pulsing with concern. ZYRX knelt beside Noah, placing a gossamer-like hand on his forehead. "His mind has touched the void," ZYRX said, voice filled with wonder and concern. "He has seen what we could only theorize. This confirms our belief in humanity's potential." As Noah's eyes fluttered open, he gasped for air, his body trembling. "I saw them," he whispered hoarsely. "The Void Hunters. They're coming, and they're more terrible than you can imagine." Captain Wilson helped Noah to his feet, her face etched with worry. "What does this mean for us? For Earth?" ZYRX straightened, its body glowing with renewed intensity. "It means, Captain, that our need for alliance is greater than ever. We offer to share our technology, to help prepare your world for what is to come. In return, we ask for your assistance in developing new strategies against the Void Hunters, particularly in harnessing and integrating psychic abilities like Noah's into our defenses." Wilson nodded grimly, fully grasping the weight of the moment. "I need to contact Earth immediately. Our leaders must be informed of this development." As Wilson stepped aside to make the call, Dr. Foster and Vex Lara huddled with the HFY scientists, exchanging information at a rapid pace. Noah, still shaken by his vision, found himself drawn to a window overlooking the vast expanse of space. He pressed his hand against the cool surface, his enhanced senses reaching out into the void. And there, at the very edge of his perception, he felt something stirring, a distant, hungry presence that sent a chill down his spine. The Void Hunters were coming, and humanity's trial by fire was about to begin. The distant threat he had sensed was now a terrifying reality. Alarms blared throughout the ESS horizon as the massive Void Hunter ship materialized from the depths of space. Its dark, ominous form dwarfed the human vessel and its HFY escorts. "Battle stations." Captain Wilson's voice rang out across the bridge. "All hands, prepare for engagement." Noah stumbled as the ship lurched into evasive maneuvers. He steadied himself against a console, his enhanced senses overwhelmed by the sheer presence of the alien vessel. Closing his eyes, he focused his mind, pushing past the initial wave of terror. Suddenly, the Void Hunter ship's internal structure unfurled in his mind's eye. Corridors, chambers, and pulsing energy conduits appeared with startling clarity. "Captain," Noah called out, his voice strained. "I can see inside their ship. There's a weak point in their energy absorption systems." Wilson turned to him, her eyes wide. "Where, Noah? We need specifics." As Noah relayed the crucial information, the captain quickly shared it with the HFY commanders. The Allied fleet's formation shifted, preparing to exploit this newfound advantage. The Void Hunter vessel unleashed a barrage of dark energy projectiles. The USS Horizon shuddered as Captain Wilson executed a series of tight maneuvers, narrowly avoiding the onslaught. One of the HFY ships wasn't as fortunate, its hull buckling under the impact. "Dr. Foster," Wilson called over the comm, "we need those sensors modified now. Use Noah's abilities to enhance our targeting systems." In the ship's lab, Foster worked feverishly, his fingers flying over holographic displays as he integrated Noah's psychic perceptions into the sensor array. "Almost there, Captain," he replied, sweat beading on his forehead. Colonel Marcus Steele's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain, my team is in position at the new weapon systems. We're ready to engage on your command." "Acknowledged, Colonel," Wilson responded. "Stand by for targeting data." Noah's consciousness expanded, linking with the ship systems. He gasped as the full scope of the battle unfolded before him. "The modifications are working," he said, his voice distant. "I can see the weak points more clearly now." Captain Wilson's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. "All ships, concentrate fire on these coordinates," she ordered, transmitting the data to the Allied fleet. The space around them lit up as energy weapons from the human and HFY vessels converged on the Void Hunter ship. Visible fissures appeared in its dark surface as its energy absorption capabilities began to falter. "It's working," Steele shouted over the comm. "We're breaching their defenses." As the battle intensified, Noah felt a strange pressure building in his mind. His perception shifted, penetrating deeper into the alien vessel. "Captain," he said, his voice trembling, "there's something else. I can sense minds, hundreds of them, all connected." Dr. Foster's voice cut in. "A hive consciousness? Noah, focus on that connection. It could be the key to defeating them." Wilson nodded grimly. "Foster, can we use that psychic amplification device we've been working on? It's not fully tested, but..." "Yes, I think we can modify it to interface with our weapon systems," Foster replied. "Do it," Wilson ordered. "Noah, are you up for this?" Noah swallowed hard but nodded. "I'm ready, Captain." As Foster rushed to make the final adjustments, Wilson coordinated with the HFY commanders. The Allied fleet executed a precise pincer movement, surrounding the Void Hunter vessel. Noah connected to the amplification device, his mind reaching out to touch the alien hive consciousness. The effect was immediate and shocking. The Void Hunter ship's movements became erratic, its energy weapons firing wildly into space. "Now!" Wilson shouted. "All ships, fire at will." Colonel Steele's team unleashed a barrage of HFY energy torpedoes, targeting the weak points Noah had identified. The combined assault of physical weapons and psychic disruption proved too much for the alien vessel. The Void Hunter ship's surface began to fracture, releasing bursts of contained energy. "All ships fall back," Wilson ordered as the enemy vessel started to implode. In a final desperate move, the Void Hunter ship surged forward, attempting to ram the USS Horizon. Wilson's hands flew over the controls, pushing the ship's enhanced engines to their limit. They narrowly avoided a collision, the alien vessel hurtling past them before detonating in a massive explosion. As the blinding light faded and sensors came back online, a stunned silence fell over the bridge. The debris of the Void Hunter's ship scattered across the star system, a testament to their hard-fought victory. "Damage report," Wilson called out, her voice hoarse. As the crew began to assess their situation, Noah's eyes rolled back in his head. "Captain," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "There's more coming. This was just a scout." With those ominous words, Noah collapsed, the strain of the intense psychic effort finally overwhelming him. Dr. Foster rushed to his side as Captain Wilson stared out at the field of debris, her mind already racing to prepare for the greater challenges that lay ahead. The ESS Horizon, battered but unbroken, began to gather the scattered remnants of the Void Hunter ship. As they prepared to return to the HFY space station, the weight of Noah's final warning hung heavily over the crew. The true war, it seemed, was just beginning. The true war, it seemed, was just starting to unfold. As the ESS Horizon limped back to the HFY space station, the crew worked tirelessly to stabilize their damaged systems. Captain Wilson stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the looming structure ahead. The massive space station grew larger in the view screen, its crystalline spires glittering against the backdrop of stars. "Docking procedures initiated, Captain," Lieutenant Chin reported, her fingers dancing across the control panel. Wilson nodded, her gaze shifting to where Noah lay unconscious on a makeshift stretcher. "Get us in there fast. The boy needs immediate medical attention." The moment the airlock sealed, a team of HFY medical specialists rushed aboard. Their luminescent bodies pulsed with urgency as they surrounded Noah, their gossamer-like appendages gently lifting him onto a hovering gurney. "This way," one of the HFY gestured to Dr. Foster. "We have prepared our most advanced medical bay for your companion." As Noah was whisked away, Captain Wilson turned her attention to the debris from the Void Hunter ship. "Colonel Steele, oversee the offloading of the alien wreckage. Every piece needs to be cataloged and transferred to the secure research facility." Steele saluted sharply. "Yes, ma'am. I'll make sure nothing gets overlooked." Wilson's calm unit crackled to life. "Captain," Major General Winter's voice came through, tense and focused. "I've received your reports. We're initiating a global mobilization on Earth. Every resource we have is being directed towards preparing for this threat." "Understood, General," Wilson replied. "We'll need everything we can get." As the crew disembarked, they were met by a delegation of HFY officials. ZYRX stepped forward, its body shimmering with a mix of concern and purpose. "Captain Wilson, we must convene immediately," the High Counselor said. "Your encounter with the Void Hunters has confirmed our worst fears. We must accelerate our preparations." Wilson nodded grimly. "Agreed. But first, I need to check on my crew member." In the HFY medical bay, Noah floated in a chamber filled with a luminescent fluid. Dr. Foster stood nearby, watching in awe as the alien technology worked to heal the boy's overtaxed mind and body. "His neural patterns are stabilizing," one of the HFY physicians reported. "But the psychic strain he endured was severe. It will take time for him to fully recover." Foster rubbed his eyes, exhaustion evident on his face. "I need to get to work on analyzing that debris. Noah's abilities gave us an edge in the battle. If we can replicate that advantage." "Go," Captain Wilson said, entering the medical bay. "I'll stay with Noah. Your expertise is needed in the research facility." As Foster left, Wilson approached the healing chamber. She placed a hand on its surface, watching the gentle rise and fall of Noah's chest. "Rest up, kid," she murmured. "We're going to need you." In the research facility, a flurry of activity erupted as the Void Hunter debris was brought in. Dr. Foster worked alongside HFY scientists, their movements a carefully choreographed dance of analysis and experimentation. "This is remarkable," Foster exclaimed, peering into a high-powered microscope. "The ship's hull isn't just advanced technology. It's alive." A HFY researcher nodded, its body pulsing with excitement. "We're detecting a complex symbiotic relationship between organic and inorganic components. This could revolutionize our understanding of void hunter capabilities." As they delved deeper into the alien technology, Foster's mind raced with possibilities. If we can disrupt the symbiosis, we need to combine Earth's expertise in biological warfare with your energy manipulation techniques. It could give us a powerful weapon against the void hunters. On Earth, the gears of industry ground into overdrive. Military bases hummed with activity as new weapons rolled off assembly lines. Civilian factories retooled their operations, churning out components for space-worthy vessels and orbital defense platforms. Major General Winters stood in the Pentagon's war room, surrounded by holographic displays of Earth's rapidly expanding defenses. "We need to move faster," he barked to his staff. "The HFY say we have months at best before the void hunters arrive in force. Every second counts." Back on the HFY space station, Noah's eyes fluttered open. He gasped, sitting up abruptly in the healing chamber. Captain Wilson was at his side in an instant. "Easy, Noah," she said, helping him out of the chamber. "You've been through a lot." Noah's eyes were wide, unfocused. "Captain, I can see them. The void hunters. They're gathering, preparing." Wilson's comm unit beeped urgently. "Captain," Zewirax's voice came through. "We need you and Noah in the High Council chamber immediately. Something has changed." As they made their way through the station's winding corridors, Noah's steps became more sure. His mind, enhanced by the HFY healing technology, was sharper than ever. They entered the council chamber to find it a hive of activity. Holographic displays showed star maps and fleet movements. In the center of it all stood Zewirax, its body pulsing with an intense, worried light. "Our long-range sensors have detected a surge of void hunter activity in a neighboring galaxy," the High Counselor announced. "They're amassing a vast armada. We fear this is the prelude to a full-scale invasion of the Milky Way." Captain Wilson's expression resolute. "How long do we have?" Zewirax's light dimmed slightly. "Months at most. We must accelerate our preparations. The fate of our galaxies hangs in the balance." Noah stepped forward, his eyes glowing with an inner light. "I can help. My abilities. I can see their movements, their intentions. Let me be your eyes." As the gravity of the situation settled over the room, a new sense of urgency took hold. The alliance between humans and HFY, forged in the heat of their first battle, would now be tested as never before. In the depths of space, beyond the reach of even the most advanced sensors, the void hunters gathered. Their dark ships blotted out the stars, a silent armada preparing for their imminent assault on the Milky Way. The looming threat cast a shadow over the Allied forces as they raced against time to prepare their defenses. Back on Earth, the gears of industry ground into overdrive. Shipyards across the globe hummed with activity as they constructed a new breed of vessels, merging human engineering with HFY technology. The crowning achievement of this collaborative effort was the ESS Valiant, a colossal battleship designed for both space and ocean operations. Captain Sarah Wilson stood on the bridge of the Valiant, her eyes scanning the sleek consoles and holographic displays. The ship's hybrid systems pulsed with energy, a testament to the Alliance's combined ingenuity. "All systems check out, Captain," reported Colonel Marcus Steele, now serving as her second-in-command. "The Valiant is ready for her maiden voyage." Wilson nodded, a mix of pride and drive in her eyes. Prepare for launch. It's time to show the Void Hunters what we're made of. As Earth's new interstellar fleet took shape, Noah Clarke's abilities continued to evolve under the guidance of YX-Thari mentors. In a specially designed chamber on the YX-Thari space station, Noah sat cross-legged, his eyes closed in deep concentration. Dr. Foster watched from behind an observation window as Noah's body began to glow with a soft, ethereal light. "Remarkable," he murmured, taking notes on his tablet. Suddenly, Noah's eyes snapped open, glowing with an intense inner light. "I can see them," he whispered, his voice echoing with a strange resonance. "The Void Hunters. They're gathering at the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy." ZYRX, standing beside Dr. Foster, pulsed with excitement. Noah's ability to project his consciousness across such vast distances is unprecedented. This could give us a crucial advantage. As Noah's psychic scouting abilities were put to use, a network of early warning stations began to take shape throughout the Milky Way. Each station was equipped with advanced sensors and linked directly to Alliance command centers. Meanwhile, in a secure laboratory deep within the YX-Thari space station, Dr. Foster made a breakthrough that would change the course of the coming war. He held up a small, pulsing device, its surface etched with intricate patterns. "This bioenergy disruptor," he explained to Captain Wilson in ZYRX, "can interfere with the symbiotic link between Void Hunters and their ships. It's small enough to be mounted on our fighters." Wilson's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. "Mass-produce these immediately. We'll need as many as we can get." As the Alliance prepared for the coming storm, the ESS Horizon, now under the command of YX-Thari Captain Zilvier, embarked on a critical mission. The ship's hybrid systems hummed as it approached a remote star system, guided by ancient Mazarian texts uncovered by Vexlara. "We're approaching the coordinates," Zilvier announced, its bioluminescent body pulsing with anticipation. "Sensors are detecting a small, barren planet ahead." As the Horizon entered orbit, it encountered an automated defense system left behind by the Mazarians. The ship's hybrid technology allowed it to bypass these ancient safeguards, clearing the way for a landing party. Colonel Steele led a team of elite soldiers, accompanying Vexlara as they descended to the planet's surface. They made their way to a hidden entrance, revealing a vast underground complex. Inside, they discovered a treasure trove of holographic data crystals. Vexlara's tendrils danced over the ancient technology, her eyes wide with wonder. "This is it," she breathed, "the complete history of the previous Void Hunter invasion." As they began to access the information, a deep rumble shook the complex. Alarms blared, and a synthesized voice echoed through the chambers. "Self-destruct sequence initiated. Facility will be destroyed in 10 minutes. "Move!" Steele shouted, urging his team into action. They worked feverishly, downloading as much data as possible while the complex crumbled around them. With seconds to spare, they escaped to the surface, clutching the precious data crystals. The Horizon swooped down to retrieve them as the ground behind them collapsed, burying the ancient archive forever. As the Horizon raced back to Alliance space with its vital cargo, Noah's psychic scouting revealed a chilling development. His consciousness, stretched across the vast expanse of space, detected movement at the edge of the Milky Way. "They're here," he gasped, snapping back to awareness in the YX-Thari meditation chamber. A Void Hunter advance force. 3 capital ships and multiple smaller vessels. The news sent shockwaves through the Alliance. On Earth, Major General Winters accelerated the expansion of military infrastructure. Underground bases were fortified, orbital platforms upgraded with YX-Thari's shielding technology, and a massive weapons platform took shape on the far side of the moon. Captain Wilson stood on the bridge of the ESS Valiant, her mind focused as she received the latest intelligence. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered. We're intercepting that advance force. The Valiant led a task force of Earth and HFY ships, their hulls gleaming with the latest hybrid technology. As they approached the outer edges of the solar system, Wilson implemented a daring strategy based on Noah's psychic intelligence. All ships form up, she commanded. Prepare to execute multi-pronged attack pattern Alpha. The Alliance vessels spread out, their formation mirroring the movements of the approaching Void Hunter ships. As the two forces clashed near Pluto, the darkness of space lit up with weapons fire. Dr. Foster's bioenergy disruptors proved their worth, allowing Alliance fighters to penetrate the Void Hunter's defenses. The battle raged fierce and hot, casualties mounting on both sides. In the midst of the chaos, the ESS Horizon emerged from hyperspace, transmitting vital tactical data gleaned from the Mazarian archive. Armed with this new intelligence, Wilson ordered a concentrated assault on the lead Void Hunter vessel. All ships, target these coordinates, she called out, highlighting weak points in the enemy's formation. Fire at will. The combined firepower of the Alliance task force tore through the Void Hunter capital ship's defenses. As it exploded in a brilliant flash, a cheer went up across the Allied fleet. But the victory came at a heavy cost. Several Earth and HFY ships lay in ruins, their crews lost to the void of space. The remaining Void Hunter vessels, battered but not beaten, retreated deeper into the solar system. As the Alliance forces regrouped, long-range sensors detected a massive energy surge at the edge of the galaxy. The readings could mean only one thing. The main Void Hunter armada had begun its invasion in earnest. Captain Wilson stood on the bridge of the Valiant, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the approaching threat. The recent battle had been but a prelude to the true test that lay ahead. As she opened a channel to Alliance command, she knew that the fate of the Milky Way now hung in the balance. Balance. The gravity of the situation burdened immensely on her shoulders as she opened a secure channel to Alliance command. "This is Captain Wilson of the ESS Valiant," she reported, her voice steady despite the tension. "The Void Hunter advance force has been repelled, but at significant cost. We're detecting a massive energy surge at the galaxy's edge. The main invasion force is on its way." "Understood, Captain," came the reply from Major General Winters. "Return to Earth immediately. We're activating the Lunar Defense Base." As the battered Alliance fleet limped back to Earth, the moon's far side came alive with activity. The massive weapons platform, a marvel of human and HFY engineering, hummed to life. Its primary weapon, a colossal particle cannon, extended from the lunar surface like a silent sentinel. At the newly established command center within the Lunar Defense Base, Major General Winters stood before a sea of holographic displays. HFY military leaders flanked him, their bioluminescent bodies pulsing with urgency. "We need to establish a multi-layered defense," Winters declared, manipulating the tactical holograms. "Our long-range sensors will give us an early warning. We'll position our fleet here, and here." His fingers traced arcs through the holographic solar system. On the HFY space station, Noah Clark sat in deep meditation, his mind stretched across the vast expanse of space. His face contorted with effort as he pushed his abilities to their limit. "I see them," he whispered, his voice carrying an otherworldly echo. "The Armada. It's unlike anything we've faced before. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands." Dr. Foster, monitoring Noah's vital signs, leaned in closer. "Can you identify any weaknesses?" Noah's eyes snapped open, glowing with an intense inner light. "There's a command ship at the center of the fleet. It's different. The psychic energy emanating from it is overwhelming." This crucial information was relayed to Captain Wilson aboard the ESS Valiant. As her ship docked for rapid repairs and resupply, she pored over the intelligence. "If we can take out that command ship, we might be able to throw their entire invasion into chaos," she mused. Meanwhile, In a secure laboratory, Dr. Foster and his team worked feverishly to refine the bioenergy disruptors. The data collected from the recent battle provided invaluable insights into the Void Hunter's vulnerabilities. Increase the amplitude by 17%, Foster instructed, his eyes fixed on a holographic model of the device, and recalibrate the phase variance to match their ship's organic resonance. As the improved disruptors rolled off the production line, they were quickly distributed among the Alliance fleet. Crews worked around the clock to integrate the new weapons into their ship systems. Captain Wilson led a strike force to intercept a Void Hunter scouting party near Saturn. The rings of the gas giant provided a treacherous battlefield, with ice and rock creating a deadly obstacle course. All ships, engage at will, Wilson commanded. Let's see what these new disruptors can do. The upgraded weapons proved devastatingly effective. Alliance fighters darted between the larger ships, their disruptors causing Void Hunter vessels to convulse and go dark. Within minutes, the scouting party was neutralized. Back on Earth, Colonel Steele stood before a group of newly trained psychic soldiers. Their eyes glowed faintly, a sign of their awakened abilities. "You are the vanguard of a new era in warfare," Steele addressed them. "Your ability to interface directly with our technology and provide battlefield precognition will be crucial in the coming fight." As the Alliance fortified its defenses, Vexlara made a breakthrough in decrypting the Miserian archive. Her tentacles danced over holographic displays, revealing detailed schematics of Void Hunter vessels. "Look here," she pointed, her voice filled with excitement. "These are structural weaknesses we can exploit. And these formations, they detail strategies used in the previous invasion." The intelligence spread rapidly through the Alliance fleet. Tactical officers updated their battle plans, incorporating the ancient wisdom into modern strategy. On the HFY homeworld, the High Council activated their hidden superweapon. The massive gravity manipulation device pulsed with energy, creating visible distortions in the space around it. "It will take time to reach full power," a counselor explained to the Alliance representatives. "We must protect it until it's ready to deploy." As the Void Hunter Armada entered the solar system, Project Sentinel proved its worth. The network of early warning stations provided a constant stream of data, allowing the Alliance to track the enemy's every move. Aboard the ESS Horizon, Captain Zilvier coordinated the defense network. "They're bypassing the outer planets," he reported, his bioluminescence flashing with urgency. "They're making directly for Earth." Noah Clark, pushing his abilities to their absolute limit, attempted to penetrate the mind of the Void Hunter Command ship's leader. The psychic backlash nearly overwhelmed him, but he held on. "They want to strike at the heart of our resistance," Noah gasped, emerging from his trance. "They're coming for Earth, and they're coming now." Major General Winter's voice echoed through every Alliance ship and base. "This is it, people. The moment we've been preparing for. Take your positions and stand ready. The fate of our world, our galaxy, hangs in the balance." The ESS Valiant took its place at the head of the Alliance fleet, forming a protective sphere around Earth and its moon. The lunar defense base powered up its main weapon, the massive particle cannon humming with barely suppressed energy. As the first wave of the Void Hunter Armada appeared on long-range sensors, the Alliance forces steeled themselves for battle. The HFY gravity manipulation device began its activation sequence, creating ripples in the fabric of space-time. Noah Clark, linked to the device through his psychic abilities, prepared to guide its destructive power. As the two massive forces drew closer, the greatest battle in Earth's history was about to begin. Captain Wilson stood on the bridge of the Valiant, her eyes fixed on the approaching enemy fleet. She took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the ship-wide communication controls. The fate of humanity, the HFY, and countless other species across the Milky Way now rested on the outcome of this battle. Battle was about to begin. Captain Wilson pressed the communication button, her voice carrying across the entire Alliance fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Wilson. The enemy is upon us. Remember your training, trust in your allies, and fight with everything you've got. For Earth, for the HFY, for all life in our galaxy. Engage." As if on cue, the vast emptiness of space erupted into chaos. The Void Hunter Armada emerged from the darkness, a writhing mass of biomechanical ships that seemed to devour the very starlight around them. The Alliance fleet moved to intercept, forming a protective barrier between Earth and the approaching enemy. The ESS Valiant surged forward, leading the charge. Captain Wilson's hands flew across the tactical display, coordinating the movements of dozens of ships. "Focus fire on their lead vessels," she ordered. "Don't let them break our formation." The vacuum of space lit up with weapons fire. Beams of energy crisscrossed between the two fleets, punctuated by the fiery explosions of breached hulls. The Valiant shuddered as it took a glancing hit from a Void Hunter energy weapon. "Shields holding at 82%, reported the tactical officer. "Enemy vessel targeted. Firing main guns." The Valiant's cannons roared to life, sending twin beams of destructive energy into the heart of a Void Hunter frigate. The enemy's ship's organic hull pulsed and writhed before rupturing in a spectacular explosion. Meanwhile, on the far side of the moon, the lunar defense base hummed with activity. Technicians and soldiers rushed to their stations as the massive particle cannon extended from the lunar surface. Major General Winters stood at the center of the command hub, his eyes fixed on the holographic battle display. "Cannon charged and ready, sir," announced a young lieutenant. Winters nodded grimly. "Target the largest concentration of enemy ships and fire when ready." The particle cannon let loose a blinding beam of energy that cut through space like a scythe. It struck a Void Hunter dreadnought dead center, vaporizing the massive ship in an instant and taking out several smaller vessels in the process. A cheer went up from the command center, but Winters remained focused. "Reload and prepare for the next volley," he ordered. "They'll adapt to our tactics soon enough." Aboard the HFY space station, Noah Clark sat within a specially designed psychic amplification chamber. His mind stretched across the vastness of space, linking with the alien gravity manipulation device. As he concentrated, localized gravitational distortions began to ripple through the Void Hunter fleet. Noah's face contorted with effort as he pushed his abilities to their limit. "I can feel them," he gasped, sweat beading on his forehead. So many minds, all linked together. It's overwhelming. Dr. Foster monitored Noah's vital signs closely. "Stay focused, Noah. You're doing great. Can you identify their command ship?" Noah's eyes snapped open, glowing with an otherworldly light. "Yes. It's massive. The psychic energy coming from it is like nothing I've ever felt before." As Noah channeled his abilities, the Void Hunter fleet's formation began to falter. Ships collided with one another, their carefully coordinated movements thrown into disarray by the localized gravitational anomalies. Captain Wilson seized the opportunity. "All ships, concentrate fire on Sector 7 Alpha. Hit them while they're disorganized." The Alliance fleet surged forward, their upgraded bioenergy disruptors tearing through the Void Hunter's defenses. Disabled enemy ships drifted lifelessly in space, their organic systems shut down by the precisely targeted weapons. Colonel Steele led a team of psychic-enhanced soldiers in a daring boarding action against one of the larger disabled Void Hunter vessels. They moved through the alien corridors with practiced precision, their enhanced abilities allowing them to anticipate and neutralize any resistance. "Plant those charges and gather all the intel you can," Steele ordered as they reached the ship's central core. "We need to know everything about these bastards." Back on Earth, Dr. Foster worked feverishly to analyze the data streaming in from the battle. His eyes widened as he noticed a pattern in the Void Hunter's movements. "General Winters," he called over the comm channel. "I think I've found something." The enemy ships seem to be responding to signals from their command vessel. "If we can disrupt those signals." Winters didn't hesitate. "Do it, Doctor. Whatever you need." Foster turned to Vexlara, who had been assisting with the analysis. "We need to create false command signals. Can your people help with that?" The HFY's bioluminescence pulsed with excitement. "Yes, we can modify our communication arrays to mimic their signal patterns. It will take some time, but it should work." As Vexlara and her team got to work, the battle above Earth intensified. The lunar defense base fired its particle cannon again, obliterating another Void Hunter dreadnought. But the enemy was learning, spreading out their forces to present smaller, harder-to-hit targets. Captain Zilvier's voice crackled over the Alliance comm channel. "This is the ESS Horizon. We're detecting a massive energy buildup from the Void Hunter command ship. Whatever they're planning, it's big." Wilson's fist tight as she processed this new information. "Understood, Horizon. Can you get close enough to deploy those quantum bombs?" "We'll do our best, Valiant. Engaging stealth systems now." The ESS Horizon disappeared from visual sensors, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it virtually invisible. Captain Zilvier guided his ship through the chaos of battle, weaving between enemy vessels as they approached the massive Void Hunter command ship. "Prepare to deploy quantum bombs," Zilvier ordered, his bioluminescence pulsing rapidly with tension. "We'll only get one shot at this." As the Horizon closed in on its target, Noah Clark's psychic assault on the command ship began to show results. The massive vessel's movements became erratic, its coordination with the rest of the fleet faltering. Captain Wilson saw her chance. "All ships, this is a Valiant. Concentrate all fire on the command ship. Hit it with everything we've got." The Alliance fleet unleashed a devastating barrage against the Void Hunter command vessel. Energy beams, missiles, and the lunar base's particle cannon all converged on the massive ship. Its organic hull pulsed and writhed under the assault, but still held. Suddenly, the ESS Horizon decloaked directly above the command ship. "Quantum bombs away," Zilvier shouted as his ship released its payload. The experimental weapons detonated in a series of silent explosions, sending waves of quantum disruption through the Void Hunter vessel. Its organic technological systems began to fail, entire sections going dark. As the command ship faltered, the rest of the Void Hunter fleet fell into disarray. Ships collided with one another or fired wildly into space, their coordinated attack dissolving into chaos. But even as victory seemed within reach, Noah Clark's voice cut through the Alliance comm channels, filled with urgency and fear. "The command ship. It's not defeated yet. I can sense something building, an energy like nothing I've ever felt before. They're going to..." His words were cut off as a blinding light erupted from the heart of the Void Hunter command ship. The massive vessel began to pulse with an otherworldly energy, its surface rippling like liquid metal. Captain Wilson's eyes widened as she realized what was happening. "All ships fall back. They're activating some kind of superweapon." The ESS Valiant broke away from the main battle, its engines straining as it moved to intercept the command ship. The fate of Earth, perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested on their ability to stop whatever the Void Hunters were about to unleash. As the Valiant raced towards its target, the command ship's energy readings continued to spike. The battle for Earth had reached its most critical moment, with the Alliance forces pushing themselves to the limit in a desperate bid to save their world and countless others from annihilation. The blinding light from the Void Hunter command ship intensified, bathing the surrounding space in an otherworldly glow. Captain Wilson's eyes narrowed as she assessed the situation, her mind racing through potential strategies. "Helm, set course to intercept," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension. "We can't let them unleash whatever they're powering up." The ESS Valiant's engines roared to life, propelling the ship towards the retreating Void Hunter command vessel. As they passed Mars orbit, Wilson activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for long-range engagement. Weapons. Ready the experimental tractor beams." The Valiant's crew sprang into action, their movements precise and practiced. In the weapons control room, Chief Engineer Ramirez calibrated the tractor beam emitters, his fingers flying across the control panel. "Tractor beams charged and ready, Captain," Ramirez reported. "Awaiting your command." Wilson nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Deploy tractor beams. Let's slow this bastard down." The Valiant shuddered as multiple beams of concentrated energy burst forth, stretching across the vast distance of space. They latched onto the Void Hunter command ship, creating a visible distortion in the fabric of reality as they struggled to maintain their grip. The enemy vessel's retreat slowed, its massive form straining against the tractor beam's pull. Wilson allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction before turning her attention to the planet below. On Earth, the battle raged on multiple fronts. Colonel Marcus Steele led his psychic-enhanced rapid response teams against the Void Hunter ground forces. In New York City, Steele's voice crackled over the comm as he directed his squad through the ruins of Lower Manhattan. "Alpha Team, flank left. Beta, provide cover fire. We've got a group of hostiles holed up in that office building." Steele's enhanced senses allowed him to perceive the Void Hunter's movements before they happened. He signaled to his team, and they moved in perfect synchronization, their advanced exosets humming with power. As they engaged the enemy in close-quarters combat, Steele's fist connected with a Void Hunter's biomechanical faceplate, the exoset amplifying his strength. The alien creature crumpled, its organic components twitching as its systems failed. Meanwhile, in a fortified bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Ethan Foster pored over streams of data from the space battle. His eyes widened as he noticed a recurring pattern in the Void Hunter command ship's defensive systems. "This is it," he muttered, fingers flying across his keyboard. "If we can disrupt this energy signature, we might be able to penetrate their defenses." Foster quickly compiled his findings and transmitted them to the ESS Valiant. "Captain Wilson, I'm sending you data on the enemy's shield harmonics. This should help you target their weak points." Aboard the Valiant, Wilson received Foster's transmission. "Understood, Doctor. We'll put this to good use." On the Moon, Noah Clark sat within the psychic amplification chamber, his body rigid with concentration. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he pushed his abilities to their limit, creating a series of small gravitational anomalies around the retreating Void Hunter command ship. Through his psychic link, Noah could sense the strain on the enemy vessel's shields. He gritted his teeth, focusing his power to disrupt the shield harmonics further. "The shields are fluctuating," Noah gasped, his voice barely above a whisper. "Keep pushing." Dr. Foster's team monitored Noah's vital signs with growing concern. His heart rate had spiked dangerously high, and his brain activity was off the charts. "Noah, you need to ease back," one of the medical staff urged. "Your body can't take much more of this." But Noah pushed on, his drive outweighing the physical toll on his body. At the Lunar Defense Base, Major Liam Harrison stood before the massive particle cannon control station. His eyes were fixed on the long-range sensors, tracking the ESS Valiant's pursuit of the Void Hunter command ship. "Charge the cannon," Harrison ordered. "Calculate firing solution for maximum effective range. We'll only get one shot at this." The base hummed with energy as the particle cannon powered up, its massive barrel extending from the lunar surface. Harrison watched the readouts climb, knowing they were racing against time. Back on Earth, Vexlar's bioluminescence flashed urgently as she detected a sudden surge of energy from the disabled Void Hunter ships in orbit. "General Winters," she called out, her translator struggling to keep up with her rapid speech. The enemy ships are initiating a self-destruct sequence. Winters didn't hesitate. Evacuate all nearby space stations and satellites immediately. We can't risk losing any more of our orbital assets. As the evacuation order went out, the disabled Void Hunter ships began to detonate one by one. The explosions lit up Earth orbit, creating a spectacular and terrifying light show visible from the planet's surface. Aboard the ESS Valiant, Captain Wilson watched the detonations with a mixture of awe and dedication. She turned to her helmsman, her voice steady and commanding. "Activate the phase shift drive. It's time to end this." The Valiant's experimental drive engaged, briefly shifting the ship partially out of normal space-time. The sensation was disorienting, causing several crew members to grip their stations for support. As they phased through the Void Hunter command ship's outer defenses, Wilson's voice rang out clear and strong. "All weapons, target their vital systems. Fire at will." The Valiant unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, each shot guided by Dr. Foster's data on the enemy's shield weaknesses. The Void Hunter command ship shuddered under the assault, its organic hull pulsing and writhing in agony. Suddenly, Noah Clark's voice cut through the comm channels, filled with urgency and pain. "I can't hold it much longer," he gasped. "But I've created a gravitational distortion directly in their path." True to Noah's words, a massive gravitational anomaly appeared before the Void Hunter command ship. The enemy vessel visibly struggled against the distorted space-time, its retreat grinding to a near halt. Major Harrison saw his opportunity. Particle cannon at full charge. Firing now. The Lunar Defense Base's massive weapon discharged, sending a blinding beam of energy hurtling towards the Void Hunter command ship. It struck the enemy vessel's weakened shields with devastating force, causing a catastrophic overload in its systems. Massive explosions erupted across the command ship's hull, tearing it apart from within. As the vessel began to disintegrate, the Valiant's sensors detected a sudden spike in energy readings. "Brace for impact," Wilson shouted. "Divert all power to shields." The Void Hunter superweapon released its energy in a massive, uncontrolled burst. The blast engulfed the ESS Valiant, pushing the ship's experimental defenses to their absolute limit. For a moment, it seemed as if the Valiant would be torn apart by the sheer force of the explosion. The ship's hull groaned and creaked, its structural integrity field straining to hold together. Then, as suddenly as it began, the energy wave dissipated. The ESS Valiant emerged from the blast, severely damaged but still intact. The Void Hunter command ship, now nothing more than scattered debris, no longer posed a threat. Captain Wilson surveyed the damage to her ship, her face grim but determined. "Status report," she called out, her voice hoarse from shouting orders. As her crew began to assess the Valiant's condition, Wilson turned her attention to the broader battle. The destruction of the command ship had triggered a coordinated retreat among the remaining Void Hunter forces throughout the solar system. On the tactical display, Wilson watched as enemy signatures blinked out or fled at high speed. She allowed herself a small sigh of relief before returning to the task at hand. "Communications, contact Earth Command," she ordered. "Inform them of the command ship's destruction and the enemy's retreat. Request immediate assistance for repairs and medical aid." As the ESS Valiant limped back towards Earth, Captain Wilson knew that while this battle had been won, the war was far from finished. The Void Hunters had been driven back, but at a great cost. The true test would be in how humanity and its allies recovered and prepared for the next inevitable confrontation. The true test would be in how humanity and its allies recovered and prepared for the challenges ahead. As the ESS Valiant limped back towards Earth, the ship's corridors bustled with frantic activity. Captain Wilson strode through the chaos, her uniform singed and torn, but her posture unbowed. She barked orders as she made her way to the engine room, where Chief Engineer Ramirez was elbow-deep in a tangle of wires. "Status report, Ramirez," Wilson demanded, ducking under a shower of sparks from an overloaded conduit. Ramirez wiped sweat from his brow, leaving a streak of grease across his forehead. "Life support's holding, but barely. Propulsion's down to 40% capacity. We're limping home on auxiliary power, Captain." Wilson nodded grimly. "Prioritize life support and propulsion. We need to get back to Earth in one piece." As the Valiant inched its way through space, activity on the lunar surface reached a fever pitch. Medical teams swarmed around Noah Clarke's prone form as they rushed him from the psychic amplification chamber to the base's medical bay. Dr. Miranda Chun, the base's chief medical officer, barked orders as they transferred Noah to a biobed. "I need a full neural scan now, and get me his latest vitals." Noah's body twitched and convulsed, his eyes rolling back in his head as the medical team worked to stabilize him. Dr. Chen studied the readouts with growing concern, her brow furrowed. "His neural activity is off the charts," she muttered. "I've never seen anything like this." As the lunar medical team fought to save Noah, Earth itself was a hive of activity. Colonel Marcus Steele stood atop a pile of rubble in what was once Times Square, his exosuit covered in alien blood and debris. He raised a hand to his ear, activating his comm unit. "Alpha Team, report," he barked. "Lower Manhattan secure, sir," came the response. "We've neutralized the last pocket of resistance and are beginning salvage operations." Steele nodded, his enhanced senses scanning the devastated cityscape. "Good work. Secure any intact Void Hunter tech you can find. We need every advantage we can get." In the fortified command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Major General Winters pored over holographic displays of Earth's orbital defense grid. Red warning lights blinked across the projection, indicating damaged or destroyed satellites and weapons platforms. "How long until we can get the grid back to full capacity?" Winters asked, his voice gravelly with fatigue. A young lieutenant consulted her datapad. "At current repair rates, it'll take weeks, sir, maybe months for full restoration." Winters' lips pursed. "Unacceptable. Deploy our automated repair drones. I want that grid operational yesterday." As Earth's defenses slowly came back online, the HFY fleet began their own recovery efforts in orbit. Sleek, biomechanical ships maneuvered among the debris field of destroyed Void Hunter vessels, tractor beams engaged. Aboard the HFY command ship, Fleet Admiral Zexera supervised the salvage operation. His bioluminescent skin pulsed with shades of blue and green as he directed his crews. "Focus on power cores and navigation systems," he instructed, his words translated into a series of clicks and whistles for his crew. Human scientists are eager to study their FDL technology. As the ESS Valiant approached Earth orbit, Captain Wilson stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the long-range sensor displays. A faint blip at the edge of the screen caught her attention. "Helm, adjust our course," she ordered. "I want a closer look at that anomaly." The damaged ship groaned as it altered its trajectory. Wilson leaned in, studying the readings with intense focus. Her eyes widened as the data coalesced into a recognizable pattern. "That energy signature. It's consistent with a cloaked Void Hunter vessel," she breathed. "Communications get me Earth command. Now." The discovery sent shockwaves through the Alliance leadership. In the lunar base medical bay, Dr. Ethan Foster had just arrived to examine Noah Clarke when he received the urgent transmission. Foster's eyes darted between the message on his datapad and Noah's unconscious form. The young psychic's neural readings were unlike anything he had ever seen, with new pathways forming and dissolving in real time. Suddenly, Noah's eyes snapped open. He grabbed Foster's arm, his grip surprisingly strong for someone in his condition. "Doctor," Noah gasped, his voice barely above a whisper. "I saw." I saw them. A hidden staging area. Beyond the solar system. This was just the first wave. Foster's blood ran cold as he processed Noah's words. He immediately began compiling a report for Alliance Command, his fingers flying across his datapad. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Major General Winters received Foster's report just as he was preparing for an emergency strategy session with HFY leadership. He skimmed the contents, his face growing more grave with each passing second. As Winters entered the holographic conference room, he was greeted by the shimmering form of HFY High Counselor Vexlara. Her tentacles waved in agitation as she spoke. "Major General, we have much to discuss," she began, her translator struggling to convey the urgency in her tone. "Our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity beyond the Kuiper Belt. We fear it may be related to the Void Hunter threat." Winters nodded grimly. "I've just received intelligence that confirms your suspicions, Counselor. It seems our recent victory may have been just the opening salvo in a much larger conflict." As the implications of this new information sank in, the Alliance leadership knew they faced a race against time. Earth and its allies would need to fortify their defenses, expand their fleet, and unravel the mysteries of Void Hunter technology before the next wave of the invasion arrived. The battle for Earth had been won, but the war for survival was just beginning. As Captain Wilson guided the battered ESS Valiant into its docking bay at Earth's orbital shipyard, she knew that the ship's repairs would be just the first step in a much larger preparation for the challenges that lay ahead. The battered ESS Valiant eased into its docking bay at Earth's orbital shipyard, its hull scarred and blackened from the recent battle. Captain Wilson stood at attention as the docking clamps engaged, her mind already racing with plans for the ship's repairs and upgrades. As she stepped off the Valiant, she was greeted by a flurry of activity. Engineers and technicians swarmed around the ship, assessing damage and preparing for the extensive overhaul. Wilson's eyes widened as she caught sight of something unexpected, a gleaming new vessel in the adjacent bay, its sleek lines and advanced weaponry unlike anything she had seen before. "Captain Wilson," a familiar voice called out. She turned to see Major General Winters approaching, his face etched with a mix of exhaustion and purpose. "Welcome back. I see you've noticed our latest addition." Wilson nodded, her gaze still fixed on the impressive ship. "What is it, sir?" "That," Winters said with a hint of pride, "is the ESS Prometheus, the first of our new Phoenix-class battleships. And it's yours to command." Wilson's heart raced at the prospect. She opened her mouth to respond, but Winters cut her off with a raised hand. "Before you take command, there's much to discuss. We've made some significant discoveries since your return." Over the next few hours, Wilson was briefed on the Alliance's rapid mobilization efforts. She learned of Project Phoenix's accelerated timeline, the establishment of the Joint Interstellar Defense Command, and the breakthroughs in Void Hunter technology. As Wilson absorbed the information, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. The scope of their preparations was immense, but so was the looming threat. Meanwhile, on the lunar base, Noah Clark's recovery had taken an unexpected turn. Dr. Ethan Foster stood slack-jawed as he watched Noah levitate small objects around the medical bay, his eyes closed in deep concentration. "Incredible," Foster muttered, furiously taking notes on his datapad. "Noah, can you describe what you're experiencing?" Noah's eyes fluttered open, the objects gently settling back onto nearby surfaces. "It's hard to put into words, Doctor. It's like I can see and feel everything around me, even beyond this room. And if I focus, I can project my consciousness far beyond the moon." Foster nodded, his mind racing with the implications of Noah's enhanced abilities. "We need to run more tests, but I think you might be ready for something bigger." Back on Earth, Colonel Marcus Steele crouched over a workbench in a makeshift lab, his fingers delicately manipulating the inner workings of the captured Void Hunter communication device. A team of scientists and engineers huddled around him, their eyes glued to holographic displays of the device's inner workings. Suddenly, a series of alien symbols flashed across the screens. Steele's eyes widened as he recognized patterns similar to those they had encountered during the recent battle. "We've done it," he breathed, a rare smile crossing his face. "Get me Major General Winters. We can finally start decoding their transmissions." As these developments unfolded, Captain Wilson found herself aboard the USS Prometheus, overseeing final preparations for their upcoming mission. The ship hummed with energy as crew members bustled about, familiarizing themselves with the advanced systems. Wilson stood on the bridge, her hand resting on the captain's chair. She took a deep breath, savoring the moment before the storm that was surely coming. "Captain," her new communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Lunar Base. It's Noah Clark. He's requesting permission to come aboard as a special advisor." Wilson raised an eyebrow, recalling the reports of Noah's enhanced abilities. "Permission granted. Inform Dr. Foster we'll need his latest medical evaluations as well." As the crew made final preparations, Wilson studied the long-range sensor data on the main view screen. The energy signature at the edge of the solar system had intensified, confirming their suspicions of increased Void Hunter activity. "Helm," Wilson called out, her voice steady and commanding. "Plot a course to the outer reaches of the Orc cloud. We leave in 6 hours." The bridge crew acknowledged her orders, their movements precise and focused. Wilson felt a surge of pride in her new team, handpicked for this crucial mission. As the launch time approached, Noah Clark arrived on board, accompanied by his Wyaxthari mentors. Wilson greeted them in the docking bay, noting the young man's transformed appearance. Noah stood taller, his eyes sharp and alert, exuding a quiet confidence that hadn't been there before. "Welcome aboard the Prometheus, Mr. Clark," Wilson said, extending her hand. "I hope you're ready for what lies ahead." Noah shook her hand firmly, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "More than ready, Captain. I have a feeling we're going to need every advantage we can get." As Noah settled into his quarters, Wilson returned to the bridge. The ship's advanced sensors were already picking up traces of recent Void Hunter activity near their plotted course. "All stations, report status," Wilson commanded, sliding into the captain's chair. One by one, her crew confirmed their readiness. Wilson nodded, her fingers tapping a steady rhythm on the armrest. "Engage FDL drive," she ordered. "Let's see what the ship can do." The USS Prometheus surged forward, its powerful engines propelling it towards the unknown. As they accelerated past the orbit of Neptune, Wilson couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing against time. Whatever the Void Hunters were planning, she was determined to stop it. Little did they know, their true test was about to begin. As the Prometheus pushed deeper into the outer reaches of the solar system, Noah Clark sat in his specially designed chamber, his mind reaching out across the vast expanse of space. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, a look of alarm crossing his face. "Captain," he called over the intercom, his voice tight with urgency. "I've found something. Something big." Wilson leaned forward in her chair, her heart racing. "What is it, Noah?" "A massive concentration of Void Hunter minds," Noah replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Several light years distant. I think we found their staging area." Wilson's teeth gritted as she processed the information. She turned to her crew, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Battle stations," she commanded, "and get me a secure line to Major General Winters. Operation Torch is about to begin." "Begin." Wilson's voice resonated with willpower as she finished relaying the critical intelligence to Major General Winters. "Understood, Captain," Winters replied, his tone grave. "You have full authorization to proceed. Godspeed." Wilson turned to her crew, her eyes scanning the faces of the men and women who would be at the forefront of this daring mission. "You heard Noah's report. We've located the Void Hunter staging area. It's time to put our training and technology to the test." She nodded to her navigation officer. "Ensign Chen, plot a course to these coordinates. We'll lead the Alliance task force." As the ESS Prometheus and its accompanying fleet prepared for their approach, Wilson conferred with her HFY counterparts via holographic communication. The bioluminescent aliens pulsed with shades of blue and green, their tentacles weaving intricate patterns as they discussed strategy. "Our advanced cloaking systems should give us the element of surprise," Wilson explained. "We'll need to move cautiously and avoid detection at all costs." The HFY commanders clicked their agreement, their translators converting the sounds into human speech. "We concur, Captain Wilson. Our ships are ready to follow your lead." With a final nod to her allies, Wilson returned her attention to the bridge. "Engage cloaking systems and proceed at 1/4 impulse. Let's see what we're up against." The fleet moved silently through the void, their advanced stealth technology rendering them invisible to conventional sensors. As they pushed deeper into uncharted space, the tension on the bridge of the Prometheus was palpable. Hours passed as they cautiously approached the coordinates Noah had provided. Suddenly, the ship's sensors began registering unusual readings. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez called from his station, "we're detecting massive spatial distortions ahead. It looks like some kind of artificially created anomaly field." Wilson's brow furrowed as she studied the sensor data. "A defensive measure," she muttered. Turning to her communications officer, she ordered, "Get me Noah Clark." Moments later, Noah's face appeared on the main view screen. His eyes were closed in concentration, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "Noah," Wilson said, "we need your help navigating these anomalies. Can you guide us through?" Noah's eyes snapped open, his gaze intense. "I can sense the patterns and the distortions, Captain. It won't be easy, but I believe I can create a safe path for the fleet." Over the next several hours, Noah's enhanced abilities were put to the test as he guided the Alliance ships through the treacherous field of spatial anomalies. The Prometheus shuddered and groaned as it navigated the shifting gravitational eddies and temporal fluctuations. As they neared the far side of the anomaly field, the ship's sensors detected movement. Wilson leaned forward in her chair, her heart racing. "Multiple contacts," Rodriguez reported, his voice tight. "Void Hunter patrol vessels." Wilson's mind raced as she weighed her options. Engaging the enemy now could jeopardize their entire mission, but allowing the patrols to detect them would be equally disastrous. "All ships, maintain cloak and current trajectory," she ordered after a moment's deliberation. "We can't risk engagement now. Our primary objective is the staging area." The bridge crew held their collective breath as the Void Hunter patrols passed within kilometers of their position. Thanks to their advanced cloaking technology, the enemy ships continued on their way, oblivious to the Alliance fleet's presence. As they cleared the anomaly field, the true scale of their mission became apparent. A massive structure loomed before them, easily rivaling the size of Earth's moon. Surrounding it were hundreds of Void Hunter ships of various classes, a formidable armada preparing for invasion. "My God!" Wilson breathed, her eyes wide as she took in the sight. "Noah, are you seeing this?" Noah's voice came through the comm system, strained with effort. "I'm doing more than seeing it, Captain. I'm trying to infiltrate their minds. The psychic energy here is overwhelming." As Noah pushed his abilities to their limit, Wilson coordinated with the HFY commanders to implement their attack plan. They would deploy a network of quantum disruptors around the perimeter of the staging area, designed to interfere with the Void Hunter's organic technological interface. However, as they maneuvered into position, they encountered an unexpected obstacle. The staging area was protected by a sophisticated sensor grid, capable of detecting even the slightest spatial disturbances. "Change of plans," Wilson announced to the fleet. "We'll use the nearby gravitational anomalies to mask our movements and the deployment of the disruptors. It'll be risky, but it's our best shot at maintaining the element of surprise." As the Alliance ships carefully positioned the quantum disruptors, Noah's voice suddenly cut through the tension on the bridge. "Captain," he said, his tone urgent, "I've made a discovery. There's a central control node within the staging area, housing a being of immense psychic power. It's coordinating the entire Void Hunter invasion force." Wilson's mind raced with the implications of this information. She quickly revised their attack plan, ordering a small strike team led by Colonel Marcus Steele to prepare for infiltration once the quantum disruptors were activated. With the final preparations in place, Wilson synchronized the attack with Major General Winters and the Joint Interstellar Defense Command back on Earth. The galaxy-wide alert network was activated, warning allied worlds of the impending conflict. Wilson took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the control that would activate the quantum disruptors. She looked around at her crew, noting the persistence in their eyes. "This is it," she said, her voice steady. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1, activate." The quantum disruptors powered up simultaneously, creating a web of energy that enveloped the entire Void Hunter staging area. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Nearby Void Hunter ships began to lose power, drifting aimlessly in space as their organic components failed to interface with their technological systems. "All ships, decloak and engage," Wilson ordered, her voice ringing with authority. "Prometheus, target the staging area's key structural points. Colonel Steele, your team is clear for infiltration. Let's end this threat once and for all." The ESS Prometheus surged forward, leading the charge as the Alliance fleet revealed itself and unleashed a devastating barrage against the Void Hunter stronghold. The space around the massive structure erupted in a dazzling display of weapons fire and explosions as the battle for the hope of the universe began in earnest. Earnest as the Alliance fleet engaged the Void Hunters. The ESS Prometheus led the charge, its advanced weapon systems unleashing a devastating barrage against the massive structure. "Target those key structural points," Wilson commanded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Concentrate fire on their power relays and shield generators." As the space battle intensified, Colonel Steele and his infiltration team prepared for their crucial mission. They gathered in the Prometheus's launch bay, donning their state-of-the-art exosuits and checking their bioenergy disruptors one final time. Steele addressed his team, his voice calm but authoritative. "Remember your training. We move fast, we stay focused, and we complete the objective. Noah will be our eyes and ears inside. Trust his guidance." The team boarded their stealth shuttle, the hull shimmering as its cloaking systems engaged. As they launched from the Prometheus, Wilson's voice came through the comm. "Godspeed, Colonel. We'll keep them busy out here." The shuttle weaved through the chaos of the battle, expertly piloted by Lieutenant Sarah Chen. Explosions bloomed in the void around them as Alliance ships clashed with Void Hunter vessels. Inside the staging area, Noah's psychic presence guided the infiltration team through a maze of corridors. Steele led the way, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dispatch disoriented Void Hunter defenders with ruthless efficiency. Left at the next junction, Noah's voice echoed in their minds. "Be careful, I'm sensing increased activity ahead." The team rounded the corner and found themselves face-to-face with a squad of Void Hunters. The aliens' biomechanical bodies pulsed with eerie light as they raised their weapons. "Engage!" Steele shouted, activating his bioenergy disruptor. The corridor erupted in a firefight. Energy beams crisscrossed the air as Steele's team put their advanced weaponry to use. The bioenergy disruptors proved devastatingly effective, causing the Void Hunter's organic technology to short-circuit and fail. As they pushed deeper into the structure, the resistance grew fiercer. Elite Void Hunter guards, seemingly immune to the effects of the quantum disruptors, engaged the team in close-quarters combat. Steele found himself locked in a deadly dance with one such guard. The alien's movements were blindingly fast, its limbs morphing into razor-sharp blades. Steele ducked and weaved, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to stay just ahead of the lethal attacks. In a blur of motion, Steele feinted left, then struck with lightning speed. His fist, augmented by the exosuit, connected with the Void Hunter's core. The alien's body convulsed as its systems overloaded, and it collapsed in a heap of inert biomatter. "We're approaching the central control node," Noah's voice rang out in their minds. "But I'm detecting a massive surge of psychic energy. The Void Hunter commander is preparing some kind of attack." Steele made a split-second decision. "Team, fall back and create a diversion. I'm going in alone." "But, sir," his second-in-command began to protest. "That's an order, Lieutenant. Keep them busy and be ready for extraction." With that, Steele activated his suit's stealth systems and pressed forward. He moved like a ghost through the alien corridors, slipping past the final lines of Void Hunter defenses. As he breached the central chamber, Steele came face-to-face with the source of the psychic energy. The Void Hunter commander was a massive, ethereal being suspended in a web of pulsating organic technology. Its form shifted and writhed, defying the laws of physics. The creature turned its attention to Steele, launching a psychic assault that threatened to overwhelm his mind. Pain lanced through his skull as alien thoughts and images flooded his consciousness. Just when Steele thought he might lose himself to the onslaught, he felt Noah's presence in his mind, shielding him from the worst of the attack. "Now, Colonel!" Noah's voice cut through the chaos. "While it's focused on you." Steele's hand moved to his belt, grasping the specialized quantum disruptor grenade. With a practiced motion, he activated the device and hurled it directly at the Void Hunter commander. Time seemed to slow as the grenade arced through the air. The psychic being's attention shifted, realizing the threat too late. The grenade detonated in a blinding flash of energy, severing the creature's connection to its organic technological support system. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Void Hunter commander writhed in agony, its psychic grip on the staging area faltering. Throughout the structure and in the space beyond, Void Hunter forces fell into disarray. Seizing the moment, Steele activated his calm. "Wilson, now's our chance. Hit them with everything you've got." Aboard the Prometheus, Wilson didn't hesitate. "All ships, this is it. Concentrate all fire on the staging area's core. Let's finish this." The Alliance fleet unleashed a storm of firepower unlike anything seen before in the galaxy. Quantum torpedoes and energy beams tore through the weakened defenses of the Void Hunter stronghold, triggering a chain reaction deep within its core. As alarms blared and systems failed around him, Steele fought his way back through the crumbling structure. He rejoined his team, and together they made a mad dash for their extraction point. "Chun, we need pickup now," Steele shouted into his comm as they ran. The stealth shuttle appeared as if from nowhere, its rear hatch already open. The team leapt aboard, narrowly evading falling debris and erupting energy conduits. As they pulled away from the doomed staging area, Steele watched through the shuttle's view screen as the massive structure began to implode. The Void Hunter's last stronghold collapsed in on itself, creating a spectacular display of light and energy that lit up the star's cape. The remaining Void Hunter ships, now leaderless and in complete disarray, scattered in all directions. Many fell victim to the very gravitational anomalies they had once used for protection. As the Alliance fleet regrouped at a safe distance, Chin piloted the shuttle back to the Prometheus. Steele felt the adrenaline of the mission begin to fade, replaced by a growing sense of the magnitude of what they had just accomplished. The shuttle touched down in the Prometheus's hangar bay, and as the hatch opened, Steel was greeted by the sound of cheers. The ship's crew had gathered to welcome back their heroes, and at the forefront stood Captain Wilson, a rare smile on her face. "Well done, Colonel," she said, extending her hand. "I think it's safe to say we've given humanity a future." As Steele clasped her hand, he noticed Noah Clark standing off to the side, his eyes distant as if still processing the psychic echoes of the battle. The young man's enhanced abilities had been crucial to their victory, and Steele made a mental note to recommend him for the highest commendations. Wilson turned to address the gathered crew, her voice carrying across the hangar bay. "The battle is won, but our mission isn't over. Helm, set a course for Earth. It's time to go home and face whatever comes next." As the Prometheus's engines hummed to life, Steele felt a mix of exhaustion and anticipation. They had dealt the Void Hunters a crippling blow, but the galaxy was vast and the future uncertain. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that humanity and its allies were now better prepared to face them together. The starship accelerated, leaving behind the debris field that had once been the Void Hunters' greatest weapon. Ahead lay Earth, and a new chapter in the story of humanity's place among the stars.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.